All right, everybody, what's going on? It's your boy MJ. Another episode of the Unfiltered Reptiles Podcast, episode 9, man. Getting things moving, almost double digits, almost a 10. Shout out to everyone who's tuning in tonight. All the new people tuning in, please, if you support this channel anyway, do me a huge favor. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Like, comment, all that good stuff. Let people know what we got going on. Because we got a lot of amazing stuff going on. Tonight's a really important episode. Got somebody really huge that I've been looking up to in the game for quite a while. And we got him on here tonight to talk about it. But before we do that, let's bring on the other homies real quick. Shout out to Steve Cushington.
What up,
Forrest? How you guys doing?
What's up, guys? Good.
You guys are fresh back from Arlington?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
Yep. It was good. When you do that, can you make sure to do me, then Steven?
Yeah, I don't know why I did that. I don't even know why Steven's in this screen right now. I got to get my computer fixed, but yeah. No, what's going on, Steven? How you doing, bro? How was your Arlington weekend?
It was fun, man. It was a lot of fun. A lot of cool reptiles at that show, and always one of the most fun social scenes in any show. A lot of great people, especially in like the arboreal world down there in Texas.
Yep. Definitely looked like you guys had a good time. Definitely Arlington is one of the shows I want to check out. Native to a lot of cool people who've been in this game for a while. Texas is
former guest of the podcast, Patrick Holmes. Got to hang out with him on Saturday night.
Holmes. Yeah, Patrick Holmes. That guy is fucking big Texan for sure. The guy we're talking about tonight, Big Ari, Texan, right? He's from Texas, right? All that good stuff. Real quick, before we get started, guys, as we all know, freshest rodents in the building, Cold Blooded Cafe. Make sure you hit them up on their website. If you guys need any rodent ship anywhere in the United States, $30 flat rate shipping. Check them all out on Instagram as well. So Steven on Instagram, and then Zoo Dreams, and then MJ Exotics Cartel, that good stuff. But enough is enough, man. I want to bring our boy into the mix, Ari Flagle. What's going on, Ari?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for having me on. Can you guys hear me okay and everything?
Yeah. You sound good. You look good. Everything is 100.
Sweet. Well, let's start it off right.
Yeah, for sure. Cheers to that. I got my little got my Michelada here.
Cheers.
Water in a 16-ounce deli cup that I got from the snake room.
Leave it.
That's gangster.
That is pretty gangster.
Right.
No, way to totally redeem yourself just now.
Tap water, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
I wish, actually, no.
No.
We're doing RO water, and we're getting it delivered from Culligan.
Oh,
And,
nice. Yeah, it's the best water on the planet.
Dude, these bills are out of control. Like we gotta do something for a system-wide RO filter. So, anybody out there that can help us, we use about 500 to 1,000 gallons a day. I need it all filtered. I don't know. We just got to stop this Culligan madness. It's chaos. So please, if anybody out there, help.
Help!
Yeah.
All right, well, this isn't a cry for help right now. This is to talk about Ari Flagle and how he's such a gangster at his shit. Now, Ari, real quick. I mean, a lot of people out there know who you are. I can tell you right now, there are probably a lot of newcomers in this hobby who probably should know who you are. Just give us a little background, little like information on how reptiles are even into your life and all that good stuff, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure. So, like as with everybody else, I've been working with reptiles since I was a kid. It's that attraction to the closest thing we can possibly get to a dinosaur, essentially.
Right.
So I've gravitated towards that as a child, and then as I've grown up, and I've gotten even more addicted to what I've become passionate about, and since the late '90s, obviously, I've been really, really blessed with being able to work with so many different variable species and interact with so many incredible people, as well as you guys, and it's just a pleasure to speak with you guys too, and thanks again for having me on.
Hell yeah.
But late '90s, I started researching BOELENS pythons, and I laugh because when I said in the '90s I was researching them, which basically entailed like a paragraph of information, mostly wherever you tried to find anything about these snakes, and that basically fueled the fire. So I've been working with them since the late '90s, early 2000s. I went over there, over to West Papua, and I started really hitting it hard, trying to figure out why we're having issues with maintaining the animals in captivity, why we have such poor luck with successful reproductions, and essentially just, anything I could learn about them to kind of fuel that passion. And that's where I'm at now. So I've been working with these animals for over a decade in the wild. I stay with cannibal tribes out there. I eat dog and I eat fruit bat and I get malaria, and I've almost had my dick bit off by a cassowary. I mean, it's a wild life, but it's what we do. So yeah, I'm a BOELENS guy without a doubt. So
fuck, that's an understatement, bro. BOELENS guy. You're living it, bro. I mean, like I said, I would get it was a long time coming before I got your book, but when I finally got your most recent book that you put out,
yeah,
it was like, man, it was every chapter is almost putting me on edge. You know what I mean? Because we're getting closer and closer to you being in the thicks of everything, and you actually fucking being in front of these BOELEN pythons, and then motherfuckers who out there have they have nests that they set up themselves. Like,
yeah,
that's bizarre, bro.
Yeah, the book, this second book was like so much fun to do. I mean, the first book was great because it was a good book for what it was. It needed to come out to get the attention that these animals were getting, and basically serve as a springboard for further education and further conservation and work with them. But this last book that came out, these are like all these stories of these like crazy adventures I've been on. One of my favorite books, and I know Forrest knows it, is Carl Switek's Adventures in Green Tree Python Country, and it is like one of my absolutely favorite books. And I wanted to write a book like that, where I felt like I knew what he was going through. And like you said earlier, you've got all these up and coming newcomers and these young herpers that are really, really passionate, but they don't understand what a lot of the times herpetology or herpetoculture actually means. So I wanted to invoke the adventure, the excitement of what it means to actually get there and see these animals, as opposed to seeing them behind glass or seeing them at a show or something like that. So I'm pleased that you guys enjoyed it, because it was a lot of fun, and working on another one too. So it'll be just as exciting, if not more.
I think he taught me the whole real deal side of herping is being super uncomfortable, but yet happy with what you're fucking looking at. Like the whole, you know what I mean? Because I remember you said something about how like your fucking socks got muddy, like your feet were an issue at one point, but then you were too scared to walk barefoot, which makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it's always something new. It's a new variable. It's almost like another level to see how far I can push myself, both physically and mentally. That's the thing. It was first physical, and now it's a mental thing. I've overcome the physical aspect of it, but now it's, being faced with, I had malaria 2 years ago, which was devastating. And I was in a hut literally in the middle of nowhere. And for a few moments, I thought to myself, oh shit, people are going to find me as a dried up mummy in this hut. They're not going to know, I'm going to die out here. And then it's just another roadblock that comes to it that I have to overcome just to find out more and to keep fueling that addiction, because it really is an addiction now.
And when you're as far as where you were at, you know what I mean? It's like you're in too deep, you're literally pushing the envelope like every second you can get,
being where I'm at is an understatement as far as how deep I've been. It can be a scary place, and it is really an awakening when you go outside and it's at nighttime and you realize where you are, and it is in the middle of nowhere. And that's just what you have to face. That's one of those mental things that you have to be able to persevere through, which once you can do it, then it's just sitting there and taking everything in and just being in absolute awe of what you're witnessing or interacting with or being exposed to.
So your first trip to Papua New Guinea was when? What year?
Okay, so just to correct you, I've never been to Papua New Guinea. I work in West Papua, which is the western portion of the island.
All right,
so
got it.
New Guinea is divided geographically, or not geographically. I'm sorry, that's 2 beers in. Politically, not geographically. So the Indonesian side is on the West Papua side where I work. And my first trip over there, I believe, was in 2006, I think it was. And I've been traveling twice a year since then. And every time it's like the first time I've gone, it's always something new. It's never a repetitive thing. It's always something new.
Right. Now, as far as BOELENS being imported into the United States, like when was that actually? Was that happening when you were researching them in the late 90s and stuff like that, or when did that start?
Yeah. So the heyday typically for these animals was like late 70s, early 80s, and then like right in that early 90s was like really starting to really peak. Now they have they're CITES, so obviously there's regulations with bringing in animals. Nothing from PNG is allowed to come in. They've got incredible high status for protection over there, and they're still protected in West Papua as well. However, there are a couple places that have had success with reproduction in there. It's not a common thing, but it has happened. In captivity, we're still, lacking that area as well. But to go back to that question, yeah, so that's always been a thing. Farmed animals or farm hatched animals have always been available. I would say probably in the early 90s was like a big peak of that.
That's crazy, man. We'll see. With the early 90s, I was KUSH wasn't even around in the early 90s. He was fucking swimming around with dad's sack. I was up to no good in the early 90s, getting kicked out of elementary school. What were you doing in the early 90s, Forrest?
Same thing, just getting kicked out of school and just looking for snakes, looking for stuff to do, I guess. But yeah, that was a long time ago. Born in '85, so. Yep,
I mean, what year were you born, Ari?
Oh, God, 79. I feel old.
Oh my God.
Yeah, right.
79. That was a good year.
Yeah, it was a good year. Good year.
You're just sitting at what, 2014, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah, something like that.
Hey, so Ari, you work with one of the probably. I mean, even if somebody's new into the hobby, they find out about BOELENS and they want the bowl. Everyone wants a BOELEN python.
Yeah.
It's one of the most wanted snakes. What's the group you keep right now?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. They're a visually stunning animal. I think one of the biggest allures about them that people gravitate to is they're just not commonly bred. So everybody wants to be that person. They want to be part of that. Sadly, it usually results in nothing happening and, the animals being dispersed or sold, here and there and whatnot. And then those animals get mixed up. But I'm working with a group of 6 individuals right now. I think it's a 2.4. Potentially having some other animals come into a group. But I just do BOELENS. They're God damn. I mean, they're like just, it's being captivated by something that you just are blown away with. And I think one of the coolest things that I get to experience is I see them both from the wild and from the captive side.
Yeah, both sides.
Yeah, which is pretty incredible.
Now seeing them in the wild, right? One thing I notice is like, what time was it? Okay, there's a shot in your book of you temp gunning a temperature. It's like 56 degrees or something like that. What time?
So that was early in the morning.
Okay.
That's about around the average, so early morning temperatures, it's not uncommon for temps to get down into the low 50s. The lowest temp I took was 49.8 degrees one time. So, I mean, it's a chilly environment. The snakes obviously aren't out exposed in that. They're down under the ground in these really intricate nesting chambers that they take over. But that temperature was taken, I think, around like 10 o'clock in the morning, because usually I set out right before the sun comes out, because the snakes are coming out right when that sun comes out around 10 to 11, and I want to be there to see them emerging from their nest and then get all of my data and everything from them right around there. So that was early in the morning.
Would they typically come out for a quick stretch and they go back in, or what was their behavior like in the mornings?
So it's real interesting. It's very methodical. They come out, they bask, and then they're gone, and that's it.
They disappear. They go back
and they disappear.
Burrow, or they just okay,
back in the burrow. They're down in that burrow. It's perfectly suited. So one of the main diets of these animals in the wild is they feed off these couscous, which is like a North American opossum. It's a little smaller. and they make these nest chambers on the ground. So the Boelens feed off of these animals predominantly, but they also eat other things too. And they take over these burrows, and they're just perfect because they maintain humidity. Makes them feel safe. It's secure in there. They can do all their stuff, all their Boelens shit that they do, and it's just perfectly designed. So they come out, they bask, they do their little shtick, and then they're gone for the rest of the day.
And so typically after that, what in the afternoon, what was your typical day like in like the afternoons and stuff?
So when I go out there, usually, up until this last November when I was there, I usually I've got really good guides that I've been dealing with for the last, 12, 13 years. I can't even remember now. And I usually will barter a four-wheel drive vehicle, and I take off, out to these sites. And then I go out there early morning before it's even light out, start hiking up to these nest areas. So that way I'm out there for the first light for these animals to be coming out. And that way I'm able to observe everything and, get all my data and everything. And then I spend the rest of the day taking wild parameters, processing all the data they've got, and then, trying to get my ass back down without breaking my neck. So it takes a while, but it depends on where I'm at. It depends on how far the area is too. It depends if it's a rainy season or not. So, but most of it is just getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bizarre. You got anything you want to ask Forrest or Steven? I mean, I have I don't want to be the only guy asking questions. I still have a shit ton more questions. So,
well, I still got about 5 more beers, so keep going.
Oh yeah, we're just getting warmed up.
Good.
Yeah, I can imagine having.
Oh wait. Go ahead, Forrest. Pop them.
All right, so take me back to the early days of the python scene, the barkers, exploring over there. Who were some of the early characters that were going over there and discovering species? Was it Al Badago? Was it Civitak? I mean, who were the guys that you were looking up to and you were reading their papers? And then in Texas, who were you able to connect with? And just tell me about the early python scene.
So initially, my first trip when I went out with Al Badago.
Okay.
Because he was doing a lot of work early 70s, mid 80s. And then after that, I made connections where I was able to go do it myself, where I hooked up with a really close friend of mine now, who's like, almost like a brother to me, Danny Guinea.
Right.
And so we've done a lot of work together. And basically I went out there and started doing research out there with his guidance and his help. But I mean, obviously, Carl Switek out there, the Barkers, they hatched the first clutch of Boelens eggs in captivity. There was a few other people that had gone out, but it was more, it wasn't more repetitive. It was just kind of like on a once in a limb. Richard Ross had done some work in PNG. I'm trying to think. There was a bunch of other guys. Even Hank Molt had said he had been out there too.
Did you ever know Hank?
I'd spoken to him a couple times on the phone. He was always very nice to me, and he had some interesting information too. So, I mean, when I was doing this first book, I hit everybody and anybody that literally looked at a Boelens python, and I approached them and said, "Hey, what was your experience?" Sadly, most of it was all repetitious, and it was all about the same observation.
Yeah,
which was very, very limited. So you can understand how frustrating it can be, because it's like, so at that point I was like, all right, I've got to go. I've got to see this myself. I got to start doing this stuff and really take it up a notch. What
happened to Al?
Al, I don't know. I think he had gotten out of the reptile business because he was really big in reticulated pythons. So
he was making a fortune on the wood products too, though, right?
I think so. I think they were doing some importing of like Balinese art and tribal pieces and things like that, and I think he just ended up getting out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had initially gone out with him the first time, which was a lot of fun. But and then I started going, and I just said, screw it, I'm just going to do this and go out on my own.
Now, were Were Dave and Tracy, or was Dave at the zoo at the time, or?
That I don't know. I don't know if I don't believe Dave or Tracy have done any wild BOELENS work. I know they did some.
I know these guys have a lot of BOELENS specific questions. I'm just talking pythons. You know, I know.
Oh, okay, pythons.
Yeah, sure. Just pythons in general are more my questions. And
yeah, definitely. I mean, they were doing big time stuff. You know, like Sawus and Timors. You know, later doing Tracy and all that. So they were really big in there. You know, the ring pythons. Apodora, the Papuanis, all that was a huge thing. And obviously the BOELENS, was like the holy grail. So obviously it was building up to that point. But even back then, the information was so limited and there was so very few people that would go to this place to find them because they're difficult to find if you don't know the right place to go. That's the thing. My good friend Quetzal Doyer, he always tells me, he goes, I don't really believe in animals necessarily rare. I just believe you're not looking in the right place to find it.
I mean, usually if you find something, it's where they're deforesting or cutting trees down and doing exactly what we don't want them to do. I mean, that's how half the species are described or found. You're not gonna just go out there and find what you're looking for. I mean, if you want to go find a croc monitor, you better have a couple of years to
exactly. A couple lifetimes in you.
Yep, absolutely. So I was just that's what interests me the most about you and your background is just what it was like coming up. Who were some of the characters in Texas? Just you were around like that area. To me, it's just like so intense. It's so intense with the amount of knowledge, with the amount of people, with the universities, with the zoos. So it had to just have this huge impact on you. As a python enthusiast and just a reptile enthusiast.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like with what you guys are saying, like, I mean, we're all herpers. It's like, it doesn't matter specifically if it's a BOELENS python, if it's a croc monitor, if it's a condor python, it's a reptile. And we're going to want to look at it. We're going to want to ask questions about it because that's what we love. Yeah. So I was like immersing myself around all of these people I was that awkward, nerdy kid at Daytona that flew out by myself when I was 18. And I'm kind of sneaking into the conversation to listen to what Stan Cherish is talking about with Tom Crutchfield because I want to know because I love freaking reptiles.
That's how it's done, bro.
Right? Yeah. So
what were they talking about? Were they talking about emeralds?
Oh, I think it was some leucistic retic. I think I walked in on the conversation of, and they had like old 35 millimeter prints that they had that were showing, and I kind of like leaned over and I was checking it out. I was like, oh yeah, okay, cool, yeah, stuff like that, and they just kind of like turned their back to me and they're like, oh shit, So, but yeah, I was that guy, and then and then eventually I met Bill Lamar and became friends with him, and like I talked to him about stuff and. And then the Barkers, I spoke to them obviously because they're Python gurus. I incredibly respect the research that they've done over the years, establishing, all this information and all this paperwork they put out. And so, yeah, I was that awkward kid. I was the one that was creeping on everybody when they were talking about stuff. But that's how we learned, And
were you ever able to see the Python Ranch in its glory days? At the Barkers, or
no, I've never been over to their place, so I never got to see any of that stuff, which would have been great.
Yeah,
I got to see a lot of old photos from it.
That's cool,
but I never got to actually see like the ranch itself.
Where was this ranch at?
It's in Bjorn.
It's hill country down south, I think, somewhere.
Yeah,
so, like Louisiana, like that area, or like
no, still in Texas.
Oh, it's in Texas. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and I mean this Python Ranch. I mean these guys, they were the Python people. I mean they, Dave dedicated his whole career. I mean, Pythons of the World Volume 1 for people in my generation, and even probably bleeding into Steven's generation and the MPR generation. It's what drove everything for us. I mean, when we opened, and now for people to see your books, it's got that similar effect, you know,
Well, that's thanks for that, man. That's a huge, like,
That's awesome.
to be brought up into that with that kind of genre. I mean, I grew up on the Boas and Python reproduction book by Marzak and Ross. I mean, that was my Bible.
Yep.
I'd have to buy like 4 copies of it just to have it all. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, you know, and the pages would be all like, you know, normally the pages would be stuck together, but obviously they were like torn, you know, because I'm like going through it, all that stuff, you know. It's like, but yeah, that's what my Bible was then, and I would see everything. It was like Barker, 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 you know, or something like that, and I came to the BOELENS section, and it's like this, you know, like 3 lines, you know, and it's like, oh, wait a second here, what's going on, you know? But
and so going back to that, as far as for the people listening for the black python stuff, so Tracy got, you know, basically famous. No, the Python Ranch was not affiliated with the Bunny Ranch Thunder Magnum. Good question though.
Yeah.
But
good clarifying.
Yeah. No. So Tracy got pretty famous basically with that clutch, right? I mean, she brought in a wild caught female.
Yep.
And it laid eggs, and she was able to successfully hatch them, right?
Yeah, they were the first ones to hatch BOELENS pythons in captivity from a gravid female. So those animals, you know, were dispersed to other, you know, big python people at that time. Nothing was, I gotta think back. Nothing was subsequently reproduced from those offspring, sadly. But you know, those animals were sent off here to a couple other people. I mean, Paul Miles was the first one to successfully reproduce them in captivity. I think it was 92 or 93. I think it's 93. And he did it at like a standard textbook style reproductive method, but you know, nothing was replicated after that. So, and I believe he might have gotten some animals from the Barkers from that clutch, but those weren't animals that were part of the reproduction.
Okay. And then from the Miles clutch, what was there anything between that and Quetzal's success?
As far as like technique utilized, or
no, as far as clutches that were successfully hatched.
So in the U.S. there was Paul Miles, Mark Spataro produced a couple clutches, but there was problems with infertility with some of the eggs. And really large eggs that had to have been have medical assistance to have them removed. I think they had to shoot them up with oxytocin to get the female to pop them out, which was really interesting because they were huge, like larger than they should be. And then after that, there was Jason and Frank Memo that produced. They produced a single clutch, and then Quetzal produced his out of Costa Rica. Frederick Averbach produced 5 clutches from 2 separate pairs in Sweden. Then there was recently there was a German couple that produced, obviously in Germany. Then there was another couple in another Sweden couple, and then there was another European couple. But then there's been like a handful of like infertile clutches or slugs produced here and there. But we're still looking at, you know, less than, you know, I think like less than 12 successful reproductions for the species, and it's 2020 right now, which is pretty incredible.
So compared to say Clastolepis or you know, Tracy Eye.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They've been bred a lot more.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I don't know the reproductive success numbers on Clastolepis, but I mean, Tracy Eye has been produced. Blake did it, and then the other gentleman in the U.S. did it. There was some also in France, I think it was.
Somewhere in Europe, yeah.
Maybe. I could be wrong, but I think there was a European person that produced a few babies too a number of years ago. But yeah, they're like
this year.
As far as reproduction goes, there's been more success with those 2 species than there has been BOELENI.
Okay. So what do you think it is in all your years of experience as a zookeeper and breeder? How can we successfully breed our scrub pythons, our chondro pythons, our difficult to breed pythons? What is it we're doing wrong in captivity? What is it we're doing right? What have you seen in the last few years that is pushing us forward
I think one of the biggest things is communication, positive collaboration.
Okay.
You know, sadly, you know, reptiles, I mean, obviously there's a monetary value attached to a lot of things. You've got breeders and you've got hobbyists and people that just keep stuff. So, I mean, obviously people have to make money at what they're doing. But I think one of the biggest things is, I mean, you can't get away from egos. That's just how it is.
Yeah, of course.
But I think one of the biggest things that have been helping with success with not just with BOELENI, and but with other species is just the positive collaboration with communicating with people like yourselves, and outside influences, and talking to some of these old schoolers about trying to brainstorm on different levels of, okay, this hasn't worked for 10 fucking years, so let's try something different, you know? Or
but I need evidence based on numbers.
Yeah.
What works and what doesn't. You know,
exactly.
I'm sick of anecdotal. You know, it was because of this, because of that. You know, and thank God we had guys in the ball pythons and stuff like that. But with these arboreal animals, it's like what you know, what is it?
One of my biggest theories with some of these species is just lack of interaction, allowing them to do what they're supposed to do naturally.
So leave
and
them
dietary influence. Leave them the fuck alone.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, I know, right? And also,
how do I get a fucking good selfie or whatever, you know?
Yeah, right. I mean, you gotta.
What's the fucking point?
Right? Yeah, exactly. You got to get those hits.
Yeah.
But I think. I also think there's a lot in dietary aspect too, as far as frequency of feeding some of these snakes.
Right.
One of the things with BOELENS pythons that I've observed a lot is how they love to feed in captivity. And I talk about it a lot at some of these presentations that I do, that we create these false senses of behavior that we think are natural behavior. And when in actuality, we're causing harm to the animals in the long run because we're are not natural, and they're screwing everything up as far as what should be going on, you know, naturally.
Right.
And when I observe snakes, when I see these BOELENS in the wild, they're very placid, they're very calm, they're observant, and they're weary, but they're not aggressive, they're not food motivated, they're surviving.
Yeah.
They're doing what they've done for God only knows how long. But when we see them in captivity, they just want to feed. They're very quick to when you open that door, they're just like, oh, here we go.
Yep.
And I've done a lot of different things this last season with my group where I've reduced dramatic amounts of frequency of feeding. And I'm starting to notice behavior that I'm seeing that I've seen in the wild too, as far as how they just react to presence. But a lot of these animals like Clastolepis, you know, the Tracii, they're very intelligent snakes. They're very observant. You know, when you come through the room with a vacuum cleaner, you come through the room with a gang of people showing them off, they cue in on all that, and that could set them back or redial them, in my opinion, to like, okay, instead of me knowing what I'm supposed to be doing, now I've got to cope with all this unfamiliar stress in my life. You know, where in the wild, they don't have this stress.
When people say, this is an intelligent snake. So they say king cobras are intelligent, or
not know if I'm hearing you guys.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me, Steven?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep. Ari? Can you hear me?
Can you guys hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. All right. I don't hear Forrest at all, and I think he's talking.
Ah, shit. Maybe that means I'm talking too much.
Yep. Can you hear me, Ari?
Nope, I don't hear a damn thing.
Oh shit!
Tell him.
Your headphones. Are your headphones plugged? Everything. Let's see. Let me double check something. Because we could hear him. Wait, what are you doing, Steven?
Nope. It's not.
Okay,
we're good.
All right, we're good now.
All right, can you hear me?
Jump back on.
Yeah, he's probably gonna log back in. It's probably a logging issue. So. Do me a favor, Forrest. I know you have one of Ari's books. I have this one right now. I'm going to floss this one real quick so people can see. Yes. This is my second time on this book right here. This shit is titties. Oh, wait. Here we go.
We're good.
Are we golden?
Yeah, we're golden. I don't know what that was.
We had a commercial break and we were showing off.
Sweet.
Yeah. So we're talking about Serpents in the Clouds, and Forrest had your original out right now, but we'll get back to that later. So let's continue.
Yeah. So did that help out for us at all? Did that make sense?
Yeah. So I had a new question for you, and that new question was, I'm always hearing people say, this snake or that snake, like king cobras or scrub pythons or this or that, is intelligent. Yeah. What do they mean by that? Do they mean that it can use a tool? Do they mean that it can recognize this keeper from that keeper? What evidence-based things have been shown to prove that any of these snakes have that form of intelligence at all?
That's a really good question. So when I say an intelligence factor, the way I'm really relating it more or less is just an observational presence of what's going on, how they're reacting to the environment, the stimuli, how they perceive different things when they're presented with it. Not necessarily like a red cup or a blue cup, but just if I'm doing something as opposed to let me try to get an example. So if I had like a dry marcon, they're more in tune, obviously behavioral wise, to get defensive and then just bolt. Where some of these larger taxa or some of these larger pythons and bones in particular, the animal's going to observe my movements prior to retreating and assess if that's going to be a threat or if it's a food-based stimuli or if they just don't really care. But they're very in tune on their environment and what's going on. I guess that'd probably be the best way to put it.
Yeah. But really, more than anything, it sounds like they're prone to stress. Yeah. They want to be left alone. They want to have their basic needs provided for them. And but yeah, that's always something that I hear so many people say. They're just so intelligent, and to me, it's like, are they intelligent at all? I don't know.
I mean, it's not like they're going to problem solve or anything like that, and it's just. When you have one next to another species in that same family, there's very different behaviors that you can observe and you can associate with them. Like if you were to put it with the halmaheras or something like that, I would say they're really similar as far as observation goes with the halmaheras, like how they perceive things.
Yeah.
The Clastolepis, I haven't worked with a lot of Clastolepis, so I can't really relate it on there. But they're just a very different snake. They just behave differently, and they process that differently. And I don't know if that's just because they're top predator where they're from, so they translate that into captivity as well. So it's like, okay, it's kind of like it's like a bushmaster if you've worked with lachesis at all. You see all these people, tailing them and picking them up and everything. And it's like, oh my God, it's a huge pit viper. Why isn't that animal turning around and railing him?
Yeah.
It's because it knows that they don't want it to turn around and rail him, because it's like, don't push that button, because if you push that button, then something's going to happen you're not going to like. Not to say that Boelens are aggressive, but they're very observant. That's probably the best way to put it.
They don't like to get railed.
Yeah. Nobody likes to get. Well, some people like getting railed. I don't like getting railed, but so
not without
I like giving the railing.
Get a little dinner date first,
Yeah.
So we've got a question from John. He's a guy that works at our facility as basically our main reptile keeper. Awesome guy. He's asking you, in your opinion, is it best to keep these snakes with a minimal amount of individuals and let them get familiar with their primary caregivers? So I believe he's asking, should you have a smaller group of BOELENI in a room, or should you have them stacked wall to wall? What's going to give you better results?
Man, visually that's just badass. Having a wall of BOELENI.
No, I think his
but,
question meant
it's not the
for handling.
Yeah.
Read that question again. I think
Okay.
wait, hold it.
Yeah, maybe
I
he
wanna
can.
stop. I think
So-
the question for individuals handling the snake. So he says, in your opinion, Ari, what is the best way to keep these snakes with the minimal amount of individuals or let them get familiar with their primary caregivers?
All right. So the way I would perceive that is, well, in the wild, they're very solitary. You do not find multiple animals, in close proximity. I've found, except for females, and that's in nesting sites, because obviously it's just optimal areas. I found females 20 to 30 feet apart from each other in nests, which is really interesting. But they're not, around each other, like, interacting with each other. I have a theory too with the success with the reproduction. Those foreign smells, the pheromones and everything just translate so much better when they're by themselves in the wild and an animal's coming to search for them, and it just gets everything going, as far as a real, how they're supposed to breed, copulate in the wild, versus having a wall stacked of them. They just constantly smelling each other, and that could lead to stresses that could probably, affect success in the long run with reproduction, or just stress with animals. So I don't really know. That's the thing.
Yeah, we don't know that. That's an amazing
don't.
question and an amazing thing.
Yeah, it's a very good question to ask.
Yeah.
I know with there's been some discussion with Komodo dragons with reproduction, having the females and the males in the same proximity, close enough where they can smell each other, can cause issues with the female developing properly or developing too immature, leading to issues down the road. I spoke to a friend of mine that's doing work with the Savus, and he mentioned to me, with a lot of the stuff that I talk about on some of these podcasts and presentations, where how I only see females, I never see males in these areas, that having all these males together in the same collection with females in the same room could be causing the female issues for whatever reason to want to reproduce or go full term to develop and ovulate. So I have an idea of trying, to put my females not even in the same building possibly as the males, and then only introducing to, increase that, that pheromone, like a really nice pair of wet panties, throw it in that, that room, that'll cause those males to go crazy. So I don't handle my animals very often. The only time I do is when I am introducing them back and forth, or I have to do some kind of enclosure maintenance to a point where I just have to get them out of there because it's too much of an issue to deal with. I don't know if that plays a factor in reproductive success, being able to handle them or not, but I don't know. That's probably the best answer, is I just don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be a while until, and
yeah.
That's the thing. We're trying to inspire young keepers, the Lucases of the world, or Brittany Novi's Reptiles, kids like that are coming up in the game. Be citizen scientists. Go ahead and try to figure these things out as you come up in the game, because
and talk to people. Don't be afraid to talk to people. That's the biggest thing I tell people, is just, man, just go and, I love it when people come up to talk to me and say, hey man, I want to talk to you about snakes. All right, cool. Let's go over here. Let's go talk about snakes, because that's how you're going to learn. That's how also you're going to, create a name for yourself, and just progress as a young herper, to figure out what it is you actually want to do. And a lot of times I love speaking with a lot of people that are into varanids, agamids, all these different, different taxes of reptiles, to see if it somehow could relate to what I'm doing with this species. If there's something I'm not cueing in on because I'm so focused on what I'm looking at or what I've seen, there could be just one little factor that they're like, oh, well, my chondros do this, or my tree monitors do this, or something like that. I'm like, what? And then I can relate it to what I'm working on.
Yep. And I think that's one of the positives of communication between keepers, and not so much the negatives that I like to hit on, that are, you're just going to hear anecdotal stuff. It's not, it's not evidence-based. There's no proof behind it. But when we talk about things like that, where there's not been large-scale studies, I mean, I know I've heard things from what's his name, one of the greatest veterinarians in the world, Elliot Jacobson, talking about there being a maximum holding space, the maximum amount of basically you can only have so many organisms in one room before things go to shit. Right. When you get so many different species or so many of one species in there, he believes that that's when these stress related viruses and stuff come out. So there's interesting ideas like that, but then there's also the stuff like, okay, is this Boelen's python not breeding over here because it can see this lizard over here? Are those two viewing each other and stressing each other out? I've heard with tree monitors and some of these other varanids that can cause
definitely, especially with some of the chameleons too. I mean, there's such visually oriented animals, that and that's just the visual aspect of it. But when you've got some of these snakes, they're releasing these hormones. You've got males musking, you've got females, doing this and that, males dropping, sperm plugs in their water dishes. It's like, somebody in that collection is queuing in on that, and that could be so foreign to them that it could just be freaking them the hell out, that it could be causing all these issues. So it opens up such a huge debate and conversation about, what we're doing.
Yep. And as long as that debate is leading in a direction of finding out new information and not just people having pissing contests. Yeah. And that's something I like about somebody like you, that, not only are you a professional zoologist, a writer, just basically so much experience across the board, but you're approachable. And, you got kids like Lucas Cobra Keeper Jr., talking about meeting you at a reptile store and getting to take you to the airport with his dad. I mean,
that was great.
I've met that whole family. What a great family. Those are those are the kind of people we're doing this stuff for. So
I mean, I love that. Like I said, I love being approached by people. I love talking with people about stuff, and because like I said, I was that awkward kid, like we all were, waiting for that moment of like, oh shit, should I go talk to them? And it's like, go talk to them, because that's how it happens. And then that's when you meet the assholes in the industry, and there's plenty of them. But it's like, but at the same time, it's like, you've got to approach somebody, because we all love doing what we do. And we all love hanging around with people that love doing the same thing, because we're all fucking weird, So it's like, so now we've got other fucking weird people to hang out with and talk about snakes or lizards or turtles or tortoises or whatever, So it's like,
you should saw.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, you should have saw the way Steven was looking around when you said, we're all fucking weird. He was all like,
well, I always say I think it's weird that a majority of society is so enthralled and obsessed with men throwing balls across the field in tights, and that we put a majority of our resources in our cities into building these giant stadiums and things like that. But then to be interested in insects or trees or plants or grasses or any of these things, that's weird.
Yeah, right.
But then it's not weird to be obsessed with sports. So what
I know. I've never been a sports guy, and I always get slack from people. It's like, oh man, you're not watching the game, and I'm like, no, I like snakes. They're like, oh, that's fucking weird. I'm like, really? I'm like, you guys are a bunch of dudes hanging around like, wow, and I'm like, it's like, not my thing. It's like, I'll do that when I'm at like an aquarium looking at something. I'm like, oh yeah, it's like. Like, did you see that? So
it's a weird world we live in, but I think it is changing, and I think it's changing because of social media and people getting to see more and more of this stuff, and they're trying to go out and they're trying to show their lives off and what's interesting and how many different outfits or how many different makeup kits or how much of this shit can you make interesting until you just look around you and say, oh my God, look at this incredible world. Look at the diversity of species and let's try to understand this and get selfies with this and all the stuff on this incredible planet. But let's start with Steven. Steven, what do you got to say, bro?
I don't even know how to follow that. I'm just kind of taking all this in right now. Like, wow.
You have one question right now. I know you do, Steven. Every time
I had a question about 15 minutes ago, and then
we never get to talk, Steven. When we're at a show, it's always like shake hands, walk by.
Pretty much, yeah. When we were talking about intelligence of reptiles and how we kind of quantify that. So in your experience with lots of different species, zoo settings and whatnot, what would you just kind of classify as the most intelligent reptiles that you've worked with based on
crocodilians?
Yeah.
Yeah,
nice.
I'm not a huge crocodilian guy like you are, Forrest. My experience, whatever. Please don't even be like, whatever. I mean, not even like I have a very basic understanding on crocodilians, and I enjoy working with them. But the most intelligence I've seen is definitely in some of these crocodilians. Without a doubt, and then some of the larger varanids. I mean, but when you classify intelligence, there's so many different levels of it that can be understood. You've got like that really incredible work that Robert Mendyke was doing with the tree monitors, the Varanus beckeri or the black trees, where they're digging into these caverns, pulling out mealworms and all that stuff, utilizing their hands to pull them out. Which was fascinating because it's like, they're doing this behavior naturally and now we're just starting to see it. But it's like, so stuff like that. I've seen some interesting behavior with the Komodos, Salvadori, the crocodile monitors without a doubt are incredibly intelligent. They're like always ahead of the game. And then just crocodilians. I mean, they're just anything that's been around on this planet this long and has still survived. Wow. I mean, they might outlive the Rolling Stones. I don't know, but or Cher. Who knows?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, right.
But
I have a question, real quick. As far as I remember, when I started, doing research myself on BOELENS, which was like a year after I got into this, so late 2017, right? Yeah. And then on Facebook, that's when I was finding a lot like that. A lot of people's BOELENS were dying on them, or they couldn't keep them established. And then also talking to other people like Joe SWITALSKI, he laughs at people like that and stuff like that. But what is that? What's the upkeep on a BOELENS? What's the obviously you have a group of 6 of them, so you're doing something right. So what's the ideal upkeep as far as from a juvenile to an adult?
So they're, to be honest with you, they're not a difficult species to maintain. You just have to maintain them correctly.
Right.
That's the thing. Trying to replicate an environment where they come from naturally, it can be very difficult, and the upkeep can be just tremendous. And I've been trying that this season to try to do it as natural as I can, and it is a real kick in the balls trying to do it, in a confined, setting. Not to say you can't. I mean, for the most part, the greatest thing is we have access to all these young animals that are available. So they have a tendency to do very well and acclimate to these, husbandry regimen that we're doing. Mid 80s, isolated basking for a few hours a day, not overheating the animals. Humidity and hydration is the critical aspect for these guys. They need to have that. Otherwise, they get that kind of dry skin, have difficulty shedding. They dehydrate very quickly if they're not given it. I mean, they're found in essentially what I call highland bogs. It's wet all the time.
Super wet.
Yeah, and it's just they're not too difficult to maintain as long as they're done correctly. I think they're one of the easier species to maintain, but they have such a damn high price tag on them these days, where a lot of people are terrified to try it, and a lot of people don't know how to take care of them. So it's kind of one of those things,
Or it's something as easy as where they overthink shit and they just do something they shouldn't doing.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things that I always used to say is simplicity is your greatest key right there. The simplest design usually will work for them. And then being able to modify that slowly to provide extra things that they might necessarily be needing at that time.
What do you keep your adults in?
My adults are in large 6-foot visions right now.
Nice.
Ultimately, I'd like to have them in like something double that size. But their behavior, their activity is really interesting. They're not a cruising species by any means. I mean, they'll move around if they give the opportunity, but they're very methodical on what they do. It's wake up in the morning, bask, back in their nest. Wake up in the morning, bask, act up in their nest. I'll cruise around, look for a female. I'll cruise around, look for something to eat, and that's pretty much it. Aside from that, it's pretty cut and dry.
And it's like they're once a week as far as their feeding schedule?
My guys feed once a month.
Wow.
Yeah. That's one of the big things. So I do feeding every once a month, medium to a large rodent from Cold Blood Cafe. It's the only supplies that I feed my BOELENS. Yeah, that's what I'm doing about once a month on my guys. The younger animals, I'm feeding more frequently, probably once every 2 weeks, just to get them past that little baby stage where they're a little bit more sensitive. Their skin is, when they're young, their skin is just really, really fragile. They usually stay about a couple weeks in the nest with the female and wait for that first shed before they venture out, because it's just like tissue paper.
Wow.
And
it's like that too when they're young also. So
I was going to ask you about that, about SIMALIA blisteri.
And
some of these scrubs and the BOELENI. What does somebody do when they receive an animal that gets these blisters? Because I've seen Steven receive multiple scrub pythons that we've gotten at shows and other animals, and I've seen them completely recover. So what's this all about? What causes it, and how can people get through it?
Well, that's tough. So I've seen multiple different kinds of issues. A lot of it is in transport. A lot of it is in just excessive amounts of humidity and moisture for some of these enclosures, where the animals are just not allowed to get away from anything but wet.
Right.
Temperatures are inadequate, so the animals aren't able to, their bodies aren't able to fight off any kind of infection or any kind of virus or anything like that. They're just kind of like a vector for something bad to happen. So I just strongly recommend, if you do receive these, obviously you want to put your animals through quarantine regardless of what it is. That way you can address any kind of issues that you might potentially have in the future. And then if you do have issues with blisters or fungal stuff, take them into somewhere that is competent enough to help treat you with whatever is going on. If it's an animal that's, like a Classolepis or some kind of other, scrub python or bull, and I bring them somewhere where you can start getting antibiotics on these animals and take care of it and set them up in a clean environment where they're able to get a shed going and help break off those blisters.
Yeah, I mean, what would you say? What's one of the worst things you had a counter with keeping a BOELENS?
Oh shit! 2 years ago, I had a real kick in the balls. I lost 2 females that I had raised from neonates. One animal came, or I had them, and they were I had them for 4 years. I raised them. They were getting, they were stunning animals as usual. I had one animal die from hemorrhagic pneumonia that happened in a week.
Wow.
And I had one animal swell up its lower midsection, and I had a heart attack because I thought I had crypto. Turns out the animal had a tumor that was right on its lung, and there wasn't able to operate on it. So those were pretty bad, and it was within a couple of months from each one another that I lost those 2 females. It happens. I've seen really severe blister disease from excessive humidity and excessive moisture where the animals weren't allowed to get away from it. I've seen really, really bad stomatitis. I've seen. I saw one case of an animal where its skin sloughed off. I've seen some really gnarly stuff. Yeah, it was pretty brutal. I mean, just in general, I mean, for just a regular, an animal, but let alone a BOELENI, it's just like, oh my God, it's like, what do you do? So, fortunately, a lot of the blister stuff I heard recovered well, but like, the animal with the skin sloughing off, there's no way to help that animal. It's just, too open to infection and, recovery and things like that. Stomatitis can be fixed if you can do it right too. But yeah, I mean, I've seen some things.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you keep anything living, you're going to see some shit, right? It's just
it happens. And
sadly,
and sadly, that's how we learn.
Right.
It's a shame, that we have to see it on the animals that we love so much. But that's how we learn. That's how we learn from mistakes, and that's how we learn how to maintain them correctly. So
I think, well, what's up? The biggest thing I've already learned this year so far was fucking ripping two condors from eating each other apart.
Yeah, that happens. There's a great photo in Boas and Python Reproduction, the Marzak and Ross, where there's a Biak animal that has these it looks like it got in a fight with a cheese grater.
Oh,
and the two males just shred each other like in half. It's brutal. I've seen spurring on some arboreal pythons where they've just cut into each other too.
Brutal.
Yeah.
I just walk by green shoe pythons at night that I've paired, and they'll just strike each other and wrap each other up. And if I don't pull them apart, they'll kill each other.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, it makes you wonder. Obviously, I mean, they're confined to captivity with us. Yeah, I mean, right.
Oh man,
it's weird, like, because you'd have to relate it, like, how does it work in the wild? Obviously we're confining them to an area, but in the wild, would they behave the same way? Where if something moved, they would just shred each other? Like, how does it translate?
Like Terry Phillips said back in the day on Reptile Radio, hey, if they're that hungry, let them.
Yeah, right.
let them eat each other.
Oh God, no, I don't want to.
Oh man, but that's all good stuff.
Yeah.
But so tell me, I know probably maybe not the most exciting topic for other people, but literature. Tell me about your love for reptile literature, your library. How did this start, and where is it taking you?
Oh man, I love books. Books are great. It's kind of an addiction as well. I mean, how it is, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you see something that has, and it doesn't have to necessarily be like BOELENS pythons. Like, I mean, I've got books on everything. I mean, because you never know. You want to have that resource. You never know when you might need it. And that one time where it's like, oh, I've got to read. I've got to read this. I got to learn more. I'd say probably in the last. I don't know. I mean, I've always been into reading books and stuff like that. And I remember my first trip to Daytona, I blew like almost $1,000 just on books. Just because it was like there. I was like, oh my God, everyone's buying all the animals. I'm going to buy the books, because I don't have to feed them. It's like, and I'm learning all this stuff. And then I don't have to be that creepy kid anymore because I can rattle off Latin names with these old schoolers and be like, hey, who's this kid, But,
and
I mean,
a couple of old schoolers, and then there's like the overlords, right?
Right.
The Bob Ashleys and the guys like that, the Barkers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And understand the depth of their knowledge that's translated through their love of reptile literature and history.
Oh God, yeah. Well, I mean,
I don't think you can comprehend it.
No. I mean, Forrest, you and I both have gone through Bob's library. I mean, it's just like you don't know where to start. That's the problem.
Yep.
I remember. That's the thing. I mean, I remember when I went to Germany for my first book when we released it, because we released it in Ham, and I got to hang out at Chimera's bookshop.
Yep.
And they were like, hey, what do we'll swing by real quick. We'll pick up the books and everything. And I walked in there, and my eyes were opened up, and I was like drooling on the ground. Oh, there it is. Yeah. That's right. And he's like, do you want to go? He's like, you want to go anywhere? I'm like, no. I'll just sit right here. And I just sat down on the floor in their shop. And I just went through every book they had. I mean, they had a box of books getting ready to go out to Mark O'Shea. So, of course, I had to go through his books to see what he was getting, and, they had stuff going to, over here in Europe. They had stuff going to the States. So it was just like, I've always loved any kind of knowledge I can get, whether it's, just sitting down and speaking with somebody like you guys, or going through a book collection and, reading things, or, coming across something on the internet and I've got to download the file and be like, okay, I'm going to save this paper for later. I'll read it some other day, something like that. But I've always loved that.
Well, and these illustrations, I mean, these original illustrations, I mean, I was looking for a specific book for some friends earlier, and I just went to the most expensive crocodilian book on this website, and it was some illustrations at 1.2 million for these original Indian illustrations. And,
right.
And
I know it's insane, but it's like, but if you had 1.2 million to just spend on it, I know you damn well would buy it, because I would.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yep. Yeah. To think about these people back then that traveled around the world on ships, and they would come back, and the people that had it all, the wealthiest people, the kings and queens, the Rockefeller type people, all of them, they have it all. They have money, they have power, they have influence, they have everything, and they're sitting there just waiting to see these illustrations, wondering what's the newest thing they found out there in the jungle,
Oh, right.
And that really gets me. Desiree says, remember that time we got 20 boxes delivered full of books for Forrest? Yeah, that was Manny Rubio's collection from.
I remember you telling me when you got that. And I was like, I can't believe you got that.
Yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, just that gets me so excited, and then to be able to converse with people like you or my friend Rex. Rex.
Oh yeah, I know Rex. I've gotten lots of stuff from Rex.
Yeah, Rex. Like his mind is just like. I don't know. It's so awesome. So yeah.
I think it's I think a lot of it too is there's also that element of adventure when you're seeing that, because you're like, oh my God, what was this person thinking when they were describing this, or when they found this? It's just like, wow, that's so cool. And sadly, a lot of people have lost that kind of ideology with today's day and age. They see the reptile. They see herpetology and herpetoculture as a reptile show, which is great because it's a mecca for incredible people to come together. But they also lose the fact that there's this other area with all this literature and this resource that is there just for you to take, and a lot of it's free. Yeah, and that's the cool thing.
Mind blowing. It's
God, yeah. It's like, I mean, I'm on Google Scholar like 4 times a week. It's like I'm just looking for stuff.
For sure. I remember just recently, like, it wasn't but a year or two ago that I learned about Varanus keythorni, that Bob Irwin and Jeff Lem was down there and stuff, and the Irwins and Jeff Lem found keythorni, and it's like, wait, what? There's an Australian tree monitor?
Oh, like, yeah, for sure.
Are you kidding me? And it's there's always something like that, and so just that search for knowledge, and then wondering what else is out there, and that's I'm always
that's
you up
the dream.
I know Ari. I know what's out there.
I know
what's out there in
India. Spill the beans, Ari. Spill the beans.
Oh yeah, man! Like, oh God, there's so many cool things. So many cool, like lifetimes, man, lifetimes.
Yeah, for sure. That's something I wanted to ask you about was so you built a really good relationship with Danny. Yeah. What about Cameron and Michael Cole? Did you?
It was interesting how it kind of folded out. Like I mean, I've always been very cordial with both those guys, and we all know each other. But I just like immediately, Danny and I just kind of hit it off, and it was just kind of like at that point, it was just like, all right, cool. I'll see you next month, or I'll see you in 2 months, or I'll see you next year. It just for whatever reason, it ended up being that way. Which is awesome. I mean, we're probably as close as I could get with another person. Just like traveling and seeing things, and I'm like, all right, I'll see you in 2 weeks. I'm heading out to the mountains, and he's like, all right, and I'm like, keep an eye out for me if I'm out there. If I don't show up, you'll know where I was. Here's my last GPS point. It's like, but yeah, I mean, just the discovery of new things is just like, oh, it's so fascinating to me. Just like, I mean, and it's funny because like some people are like, oh yeah, there's not much places left. Bullshit. There's places that are just like crawling with things. It's like just nobody wants to take the time to do it, and that's what sucks.
Yeah, well, it's time, it's money, it's danger. There's a lot involved when it goes to, like New Guinea. I'm always asking you about the crocs. It's like, man, what's going on with the crocodiles? There's obviously a northern and a southern variant. What can we do to get these things established and breeding? And hopefully they have big ass farms over there that are doing it for meat and everything else. But those are rare crocodiles.
Yeah, I mean, it just boils down to time and somebody taking the initiative to do it, because and a lot of it too is just with over there, and I mean just with anywhere else in the world, like we have such a different perception of how we do things as opposed to over there. It's like, when I talk to these people, they're like, oh, that's interesting to you? And I'm like, yeah, it's interesting to me. Who's like, oh, okay. So it's like, it goes into one ear, comes out the other, as opposed to like, where we're like, what are you talking about? There's a new, you've seen this crocodilian? You've seen this? You know where it's at? Oh yeah, I saw it. Yeah. Oh, okay, great. So it that goes back, it drives me crazy every time because I'm out there and they're always telling me about something. And I'm just like, what?
But it's so upsetting, but it's also, I guess, one of the most beautiful things I've seen with people is, and Michael Cole explained it to me so well. I know I've told this story before, but when I went over there with BARCZYK and it was the competition and they all brought their best animals, and I'm seeing all these animals that I just, I don't care what it costs. I'm going to find a way to get that money and buy that animal. And here's a kid that rode on a motorbike from 20 miles outside of Jakarta or whatever. And,
right.
His you would think that no matter what, there would be a price on a monitor lizard that he's raised from a baby, and it's just no, not for sale. And Michael Cole explained to me, he goes, you don't understand, like it's not, it's an ethnocentric bias you have that money can buy everything. He goes, they're pretty happy, man. They got their family, they got their hut. Look at it outside. Look at the blue water. Look at what their life is. Maybe they don't need Disney Plus or a sports car or whatever. Maybe they're just doing all right.
Yeah, I know. It's one of the things I love when I go back out there is just how simplistic things are and what we take for granted in the U.S. versus over in some of these places that I go to. It's just like, they're like, oh yeah, okay, whatever, and we're just like, oh, struggling.
Yeah.
But the simplicity of how they live is just so alluring.
Our struggles aren't really struggles in the United States.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Actual, it's not life or death struggles, which other people in other countries have life or death struggles. You know what I mean? So it's just it's the silver spoon country, right, Stephen?
Oh yeah.
There's anybody?
He's a poster child of other than him. He's in good shape, which is a good thing. He knows he's smart enough to keep his health on point. But Jesus Christ, you should see his spoon collection. It's amazing.
It's
all real silver,
platinum, ivory.
I heard it.
Ivory.
I heard his spoons trickle back down from the Titanic days. Like I heard.
Damn.
That's where
one from the Titanic.
Multi-generations.
Somebody was eating as it was going down, and I don't know.
The spoon said Cushington on it.
But
SS Cushington.
Hey, I have a question.
Yeah.
You only keep BOELENS, right?
Yeah.
If you could keep another species, right?
Yeah.
What you know what I mean? You have the space for it. You have the fucking time. Money's not an issue. All that good stuff. What other species would you keep?
Croc monitors.
Wow. I was talking snake. That's awesome to know.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. So all around, you want to keep croc monitors.
Oh, I love croc monitors. They're my second favorite. Yeah.
Second,
but I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I've got so many favorite, you know what I mean? Like Lanthanotus. I mean, come on. I mean, it's so cool. You know, I mean,
out there.
I mean, there's so many incredible species of reptiles and amphibians. I mean, I've never been a real big amphibian guy, but there's some incredible ones like Anotheca and, Cruzia hyla and Hemophractus, Proboscideus, that freaking tree frog with a nose that comes out and looks like a mata, and they've got teeth. I mean, there's so many incredible species, but I don't know. It would be so strange working with something just by itself, not BOELENS. That's the thing. It's like, I mean,
what was that Dipoglossus at your work that I couldn't get it to? I couldn't find it the other day. Which Gallowasp you guys have there?
I think it's a Haitian one.
Haitian.
I can't remember it. Yeah, it's like a big brown sausage.
Yeah, is it cool looking or not really?
Yeah, they're cool. They really can bite hard, which is crazy. Yeah. But we had some, and the female, we didn't know she was gravid. She dumped like 36 babies over the course of like 3 days, and it was just like nonstop. But yeah, there was cool. I mean, there's so many incredible species to work with, and that's just so. It's so, I mean, you guys know it's so hard to have just one cell. But like, I remember, because I'm real good friends with Russ Gurley, and he's always like, if you could only work with one animal, what would be? I'm like, BOELENS. And he's like, really, just BOELENS? And I'm like, well, what? Because he's a turtle guy. I'm like, well, what turtle? And he's like, well, maybe this one.
It's the hard to pick one turtle. For me, it's definitely croc monitors. Like,
yeah. I mean, there's something about it. It's they're the BOELENS python of the varanid world.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it is.
They're pretty cool.
Yeah, Singapore just posted a big thing. They just had F2 babies.
Yep.
Damn.
Which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, who's that over at Dallas or Honolulu?
No, Singapore.
Oh, Singapore. Okay.
Yeah, they just made a post. I saw it today on the Facebook.
It was eye-opening being at Dallas the other day, seeing what they have going on. I mean, the main thing I took away from it was, oh my God, we're feeding them too much.
Yeah, exactly.
We definitely need to slow down the feed, and other than that, and like the so many of the monitor guys make such a big deal out of varied diet, and they're like, no, just rats. They're like, we literally only fed them rats, and and got
but the frequency and quantity of rats is the trick.
Yep. Yeah,
that's the thing. They
did one medium rat, I think, on Wednesday, and 2 on Saturday.
Yep.
That was it.
Yep, exactly. That's what I do with the ones at Fort Worth. I've got an egg. I'm still waiting for the damn thing to pip. It's at like 230 days, I think now.
Jeez. Yeah. Wow. 230 days?
I think they can go up to like 270, something like that, I think. Or any longer, I'm going to go crazy and pip the thing myself.
That's yeah. Long time.
What do you see happening? I'm sure it's always tough to get a positive or a good idea or philosophy looking forward. But how can we acquire, and what are the right steps we can do to get these species that we're unable to get in captivity into breeding programs? What have you seen work in the past? What do you see happening in the future? Or is it all just going to hell in a handbasket?
Sadly, it feels like it's going to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah.
I mean, we have people that have the time, they have the knowledge, they have the money to do it. Right. But they're still getting denied the access to do it. And that's probably the most frustrating damn thing that I get to hear. Yeah. Because it's not like we're picking animals out of Petco and taking them home. It's like we're investing thousands and thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours of our personal time and employees' time to do something positive for these animals. A lot of these animals, in my opinion, it's almost like they're meeting their end if we don't do anything.
Yep.
I mean, do I think BOELENS pythons are going to be extinct in the next 10 years? No, certainly not. Do I think it'll be difficult to acquire them? Yeah, definitely. That's why one of my main goals with the research I do is to work with wild conservation and focus on captive conservation, with being able to maintain and to establish breeding groups for these animals to alleviate excessive wild collecting or just wild interaction by that means. And that goes with any species for that matter, lots of different animals. But I don't know what the answer is. And I don't know if there's an answer that's going to be a positive one that we're going to get. I feel like we're just kind of pushed away because we keep animals. But it's so much more than just keeping animals. And sadly, the people that are pushing against us don't see it that way.
Yeah.
And that's just the frustrating part. Like I want my daughter to be able to enjoy what I enjoyed growing up. You know, keeping animals and enjoying having them, and also the animals enjoying being in the environment we're providing them. That's the goal, the ultimate goal.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how that future will be. Hopefully, it's not a dismal one.
So with New Guinea, for example, so they're at war with Indonesia, right? I mean, Indonesia wants to take that land from them, and they want to rule over them as people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's been years and years and years. It's always been the battle. It's always been the Papuans want their land. And the Indonesian government doesn't want to give the land. It is a brutal scenario that's been going on for years and years and years since ever I remember it.
Yeah. What's going to happen, you think?
I don't know. Sadly, there was a huge uproar within this year where they had a big problem over there, where a lot of the locals and the Indonesian government were fighting because of some pretty horrific things that had happened, and it just was like shut down. Like that whole part of the world was closed off from the rest of the world, and this was like a genocide that they went through and just wiped people out. It's a third world. I mean, it's, things happen there that they wouldn't happen here, and it's swept under the rug. That's how it is. It's still a scary place, and things happen like that all the time. So, it is. I mean, there's a lot of incredible people that I've met, and but I don't know. I don't know how it'll translate into the future.
Have you ever known anybody, or has anybody ever successfully worked with the government in Papua New Guinea, to do an export or do anything with their wildlife? Or are they basically just like, hey, nobody's going to help us, so fuck you all?
I don't know. With Papua New Guinea, I know things were coming out in the 70s and 80s out of Papua New Guinea, but I'm not sure. Cameron would have a better understanding on that than I would, because he had been importing and exporting, longer than I've been, obviously. But and he might have a better aspect on the historical side of it. But I don't know. I mean, PNG has been closed down for years as far as exports go, and I think that in the way is just for them to try to control and protect a lot of the flora and fauna there.
Yeah,
which is good. However, the captive side of a lot of that, the captive conservation side, is a huge asset because we just keep encroaching on everything. I mean, we just devastate. That's what we're terrible at what we do. Essentially, we go into these places, we wipe out areas, we, bulldoze this forest, we, burn this area, and then everything that's in it, for a financial gain. And that, that really, really screws us in the long run, where they could be exporting or allowing these animals to come out to be able to establish healthy and successful populations for the futures to come, facilities, or for even reintroduction into safer areas.
Yeah.
Hey, Ari, real quick, I want to kind of touch touch back on what we were talking about, your like the relationship you built with the people you've met while doing researches in the West Papua New Guinea area, right?
Yeah, sure.
That's one thing I was like trying to like, I started putting together in my head is like people like Danny, like the people that you would go on missions with. They're like family to you, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So how do you keep in touch with them? I mean, do you is it really random or?
Oh, WhatsApp is the way to go, man.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so funny. Yeah. I mean, it's like you can literally
talk to anyone in the country off WhatsApp.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of these people, like I bought my friend like a phone that has a WhatsApp so I can keep in touch with him and find out what's going on, find out what females are doing, find out, how animals are doing, if there's any problems there, if there's anything that's not safe or just how his family's doing. I mean, and I always send his family, not Danny, but my friends over in Papua, I always send them money to help out because they're so poor over there. I'm always sending them, $400 or $500 every few months, just for their kids and stuff like that. I did that for Christmas for them, and they were like just absolutely in awe about that. I mean, I've known these people for over 12 years. It's like, I got pictures of me and them on their walls and their little houses and stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But
I could tell how excited they were when you would pop up too. Like just by you writing in the books, like. And even ones you haven't met yet, just your presence being there, it was like an honor for them.
Yeah, they know it's the crazy white guy that comes here to look for the snakes. It's like
typical. I mean,
typical crazy American, coming into the States, and they love it because I come back. So that means it's always like the one thing because sometimes people will come out and be like, oh, I want to be your friend, and then they never come back again.
Yeah, typical.
But I'm there. I mean, I've been going there for. God, I can't even remember how many times I've been going. It's I've lost count, but these people are.
When is the next
incredible? It'll be probably later this year. I usually do a lot of November stuff because that's when females are sitting on eggs typically, or they've just deposited eggs. But I'm like really amped up trying to find a male. I've never found a male in all this time, so I'm probably going to go a little earlier, I think, or a little later. I don't know. I might try to start off in the beginning of the breeding season. I've been there for pretty much every month of the year, and I'll probably try a breeding season this time, see if I can find a male.
Nice. Damn, cool. It's exciting.
Yeah. So I got some transponders I'm going to stick in a couple animals and see if I can figure out what they're doing.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
What was the name of the guy who you linked up with in the book? And he's like, he took you to an area where like there was about 4 or 5 females nesting. Oh,
my friend Kumbang. Yeah. He's a really close friend of mine out there, and he's the one that it took me like 4 or 5 years to get these people to really trust me. They had to see me coming back and forth, and then they finally were like, "Okay, we're going to take you." And they took me and they wore my ass out going to these places. And
they broke you in.
Oh yeah, they wanted to see if I could hang, and I blood, sweat, and tears. Yeah, I did it. Almost died a couple times, but I did it. So they've taken me some pretty incredible places. I've seen some crazy stuff, and I've heard some crazy things out there. It's just an amazing place.
What are the gangs like out there? I know they're not to fuck with, but I know there was one time where you met some dude who looked like Bob Marley or some shit. Like
yeah. So there's a lot of the OPM where the Free Papuan guys are they're like the guerrilla warfare dudes out there, and they've got a hold because in West Papua you can't have guns except for the military. So a lot of these guys had guns. They got a hold of guns and everything like that, and it's scary as shit. And I was in some pretty rough areas. I went to a lake area. It was called Lake Habima, and it's I went there, and there was a team from the BBC, that television company, and they were trying to do filming, and they got denied to go there. And then 20 minutes after that, we ended up going.
You're waving. You're like,
yeah, I was like, peace, But it was real sketchy. Because that was where a lot of those OPM guerrilla guys are, and I met the Bob Marley dude there who was packing a piece in his little bag, and he was it was funny because he was like, I could totally see him like the gun doesn't shoot, so he kind of looks in the barrel, kind of looking at it to try to figure out. I could see him being like one of those guys, but he had the gun, you know. So yeah. I mean, I saw these one guys I wrote about where I thought they were going to blow their faces off with these kerosene torches they were lighting up or something like that. And I'm just watching, waiting for these guys to just engulf in flames, you know. But
we also have to think about how many situations where you didn't know what the fuck the outcome was going to be. You're just like looking around, and you almost from anybody because it's all this shit's going down, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like,
I think scariest. I think probably the scariest. I've been held up twice, but that didn't really bother me that much. I just kind of laughed about it, which is kind of weird. I think the scariest thing I had was when I flew back in this last November, because that was right after all these riots where they had I was seeing pictures sneaking through the internet of like Indonesian military with like freaking arrows in their foreheads and stuff. I flew in, and I think I was the first outsider that had come in after all the riots. And when I got that little plane and walked off, it was like a ghost town. And I remember, walking into this place for, 12, 13 years. And it's just like, a little tiny city, and people walk by and there was nobody there. And it was really kind of sketchy. At that point, I was just like, oh, maybe this wasn't a good idea, but
you're in good hands.
Fuck it.
Good thing is you knew the right people.
Yeah. Well, it was good. Yeah, I was still waiting for them to show up, but I was hanging out talking to locals, so they were like, "Oh, okay, cool." Right?
Dude, what's crazy is like the whole venture of even getting there, like the airports, the fucking. I mean, how long did it take you to get to where you needed to get airport wise? You took how many different planes?
Yeah. So when I fly from Texas, it takes me about 12 or 13 hours, and I usually go to Japan or Hong Kong, or I've even gone to Korea. And then from there, then it's like another 7 or 8 hours to Jakarta. And then from Jakarta, it's like another 7 hours to Papua. And then from there, it's like another hour to get to where I go. And then from there, I got to take a vehicle, and I got to go up in the mountains, and then I'm on foot. So it's like 3-4 days just solid travel to get to where I'm at. I mean, you are out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's the best way to describe it.
They're how far ahead of us time wise?
So it's exactly 11 hours ahead, and then Papua is, I think, 14 or 15 hours.
So you get there, you lose 11 hours.
Yeah.
Or 11 hours ahead of you.
Yeah.
Okay, and then it's fucking. There's no time to rest or anything or catch. You go right into the shits.
Oh yeah. I don't even stop. I usually have maybe like a day before I have to, and the only reason I stop for a day is to catch the next plane. So it's like, I'm like, all right, I'm not wasting any time. I'm just going as far as I can go until I physically just have to stop, or I get to my site and I'm there. So
my next question for you, Ari, is
how
much are you getting that beetle nut for?
Man, that stuff is crazy.
Talk to me about that beetle nut.
Yeah. So they call it Pinon, and it's this, like, it looks like an eggcorn, like a big green eggcorn, and you tear the husk out and you chew on the husk, and then you mix it with with lime, and then you have like this stick. I always forget what it's called, but it looks like a piece of asparagus, and you mix it all up while you're chewing it, and it is like this super bitter, like instant taste, and it sucks all moisture out of your mouth, and it turns your mouth red, and then it's like this super euphoric feeling. Like I've been told that it's like doing coke. I've never done that before, so I don't know how that is, but that's what I hear.
I've done lots.
Yeah. And it feels like it too, from what I've heard. So so it's just like this really euphoric high, and it's just a local thing they do, but it just really screws up your teeth. It's really bad for your mouth. But you could walk for fucking days on that stuff, and you're just like solid.
And then you said that there's like couple people, like there's people you saw that kind of did that shit a lot. Like you're like,
oh yeah, like I usually bring like bag of that stuff. I go to the market when I'm in Jayapura and I get like a big old bag of it for like $4. And I've got all my Papuan friends and they're just like salivating when they see me get off the plane with it. And
Oh
they're
my
just
god!
popping that shit and smoking like a pack of cigarettes. And then they're just, they're like, all right, let's go. You know?
They're like, oh, Ari's in town. We're gonna party.
Hell yeah, we party. Yeah.
Sleeping for the next week.
Yeah, that's right. We're gonna look for BOELENS.
We're gonna find these damn BOELENS for this guy. He's amazing.
Yeah, that's right. The peanut guy.
Shit. Well, anyways, let me know when you get some beetle nut. We'd love to try that.
Oh, I got freaked out actually though, because when I came back on one of my trips, I had stuck a bag of it in my hiking pack and I forgot about it.
Yeah.
And I came back home and I'm like going through all my stuff and I pulled out this bag, like this big like Ziploc bag of just white lime powder. And I was just like, oh my God. I was like, the TSA didn't see that. Thank God.
I mean, you'd be surprised at shit that they miss, but then don't go there either.
No, yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, another thing that stood out to me in your book. I was like,
yeah, but it was
there had to be something. There had to be some sort of like substance out there that fucking those motherfuckers do to just get them on the straight savage tip that they could be barefooted. And, the terrain that they're walking in and all sorts of stuff. So
and it's really cold too. So the beetle nut makes your body really warm. So you're not like super cold when you're hiking in the mountains. So it's kind of nice, but at the same time, you got to keep doing it to keep that, I guess buzz or high or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I chew it when I'm there because it's kind of like a local thing, and I have a lot of people that. Like new people when I meet, I bring it out instead of cigarettes. I'll pop that out and they'll be like, oh, hey, let's chew some peanut together. Be like, oh, this guy's cool, So, yeah, get the peanut.
What up with your peanut experience, Kush? Kush has no idea. I don't even think Kush has smoked hookah before.
Hookah? No, I have not.
He's as clean as it gets. It's my boy right there.
He's quiet.
Yeah, Kush he's probably had a fucking 14-hour day. Guy just got done packing 1,000 rats probably in the last minute.
Oh shit.
Kush is here. He's not speaking much, but he's here. He's
something like that.
That's the least he could do.
Yeah, he's
clean some mice after this.
Yeah.
Oh, you should go to bed. How about you fucking sleep?
I don't sleep. I'm not allowed.
Forrest was like, no.
Yeah, I know. I see Forrest just shaking his head like, no.
He said, fuck that. Hell no. I just fed him a meal. He has to work for the next hours at least.
Yeah.
I'll see him in the morning when I wake up,
Yeah.
Go sleep when you're dead.
Yeah.
That's right.
Cool. Beetle nut is awesome. We just talked about that.
Yeah.
Your daughter, bro. I want to talk about your daughter. You have a fucking amazing kid. Okay.
Thank you.
What brought me to Ari to begin with was before I knew he was messing with BOELENS. He had a costume that he did with his daughter, the fucking Predator costume.
Yeah, right.
Dude, Predator's one of my favorite movies, like hands down. The original Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger, by far one of my favorite movies. And I saw that he had the costume. He was the grown ass fucking Predator. Daughter was the little miniature Predator, bro, and your guys' costume was on point. What got you into making costumes? How? I mean, that's a unique.
So like I'm an artist also, and I've always like enjoy. I mean, we always enjoy who wouldn't want to be the fucking Predator? I mean, it's the ultimate sci-fi monster,
It's fucking the man.
Yeah. You got Predator, you got Pumpkinhead, you got all that shit. It's good. Yeah. And so it just was like one of those things where I was like, oh, we got to do this. And she was like, oh, Daddy, I want to go with you to a comic thing. And I was like, all right, cool. And I'd never done any of that stuff before. I was like, oh man, let's see how this is. It's cool. And we just had so much freaking fun. It was a blast. So
is it something you guys do on the yearly, or because that was a couple years?
Yeah, we haven't done it in a while, but we'll probably try to do it again because it was so much fun. It was just cool,
I don't know. Obviously, I've never met your daughters, but I could tell she's a fucking spitting image of you, bro. Like she's a little mini me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, kids are like, I don't know. It's like before I had kids, I was terrified of even thinking about having kids, but it's just like it's such a cool thing. Yeah, I know. You know how it is now, right, Forrest? Right?
It's killing it right now.
It's a completely it's just. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah,
Horses
it gets it until they go through it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, man. So is she into the whole reptiles as much as you
Oh
are?
yeah, I mean, she loves all that stuff. She's, I mean, into like, you know, YouTube and watching kids play games when she's not playing games, or you know, doing that. But yeah, she's all about it. She loves animals and likes helping me when I need it and asking questions and stuff like that. And you know, so she's good into it. She's a good kid.
She's into reading books and shit like you are.
Yeah, not as much. I have to kind of force her to read books, but she, you know, she has to.
I think nowadays getting a kid to read a book is like fuck.
Dude,
I
man,
mean,
get him off the phone. That's what you got to get him off of.
Oh my God, Steven.
So if you're describing me,
Yeah, like he literally cannot read.
literally.
even was born with the tablet in his hand. He came out with the tablet like this.
Right? Yeah.
Although his grammar is unbelievable.
Well, that's good.
Smart.
Yep.
Obviously, we already know
Right.
Steven he's definitely like one of the last Mohicans of like what could be, you know, legit for his generation. His generation trash. But you know, he's fucking, like I said, if you're gonna fuck with anybody in that generation, KUSH is who you want to fuck with for sure.
It's just an image. I'm just like him.
That's just an image.
I mean, as somebody that's Native American, to think of Steven, you know, this white guy from Chicago, super wealthy, as the
I
last
wouldn't
one.
go that far.
It's tough, but
Yeah.
He has a fucking hell of a boss who just rides him to the fucking ground.
anyway,
Oh yeah.
So
Nothing
reptile.
like sleeping on an air mattress in the snake room that has a giant hole in it that you got to fill up 4 times a night, you know?
Yeah.
Fuck, do you wake up 4 times just so you don't have to hit the floor?
No, I wake up on the floor, fill it back up, and then hit the floor again in about an hour.
Oh,
That's what
yeah.
it gets for not learning how to repair the damn thing. You know.
Yeah, you gotta get a patch, man. Get a good patch.
I don't even know where it is. Like, I can't tell where the rip is.
Oh my god! You
Can't
just
find the hole.
for it.
Yeah, you gotta spit on it and rub your hands around it, and you'll find
So that
where the
goes to
hole is.
That goes to another problem. Finding- We're gonna talk about this in another episode.
Yeah,
but
we'll
There you
make
go.
a whole episode about it. But no, Ari, who was name some of your memorable bosses over the years?
Fuck. I had probably one of the coolest bosses. He worked at Buffalo Zoo. His name was John Cast, and he was one of my immediate supervisors when I started at Fort Worth. And he will probably be one of my most memorable on a positive note.
Yeah.
Just a herper that is like a good person, you know, like, yeah. I've had a lot of shitty bosses though, you know, and, I still kind of do, but you know, that's whatever, you know, that's how it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, he'll always be probably an important figure, I'd say.
One of my favorite things is Cody. I was talking to Cody, and you know, he worked at the alligator farm and a couple zoos, and I was telling him about my employees, and I'm like, yeah, you know, their big excuse, they're always coming to me, and they're like, well, if the bosses weren't asking us to do this and this and this, I could get this done. And he's like, yeah, I use that excuse like every day. You know?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like, it's like that's my excuse, you know. It's like, well, if you weren't asking me to do this, then I could have got that done. It's
right.
It's funny shit from both perspectives, you know.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can see that.
Yeah, but what any other funny stories of coming up before the being a professional zoologist, just like in the private sector?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, I've met so many interesting people. I've met a lot of I've met a lot of really incredible old school herpers, like Richard Ross was like a big dream of mine to meet. Oh wow. He's always kind of stuck in my Carl Switek, Daniel Bennett, Mark O'Shea. I like to think of him as a friend. He's always been really supportive of all my work, and he's just, I mean, incredible wealth of knowledge.
He sounds so rad.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've always looked up to him.
What about did you ever know like the guy Ray that had all the rattlesnakes and the rodent breeding operation in Texas?
No.
Okay.
Don't know that guy. I'm trying to think.
What about Frank Reitz?
Oh, Frank Reedus?
Yeah.
I've never met him. But he would be definitely an interesting person. I'd love to sit down and have a couple beers with and talk.
Yeah.
He's done some really cool stuff. I mean, obviously, Dave and Tracy Barker, they're always very, very interesting to speak to, just with their knowledge and everything, and just how long they've been. I mean, they're just. I've always just looked at them as looked up to them for just what they've accomplished, and what they've kind of set the pace for.
It's incredible.
Bob,
what about Bob? Do you remember the first time you met Bob Ashley?
Yeah, I think it was at one of the NARBCs. Bob's just awesome. His literature knowledge is just incredible.
Yeah.
And he's just a really good guy. Russ Gurley, close friend of mine. I hold a really high and really hard regards to him.
We'd love to have him on. I just don't think he would do it,
I don't know if he's all social media. He's like a recluse.
Yeah.
I saw him over the weekend. I'm like, he messaged me up. He's like, hey, we got to go drive out to California soon. I'm like, oh, God, I don't want to do that drive. It's like, fuck, drive California.
Just a phone call for us seems like a dream.
Oh, that's just a winning the lottery right there if he answers the phone.
See, I wish people would understand that with me. It's like, hey, I'm like Russ. I just can't talk. Okay, like
right,
Like,
but the worst though is like when you get butt dialed. Like I get butt dialed by him, and I'm like, oh hey, what's up, man? And it's just like him just like walking around, and I'm just like, dude, hello,
Yeah.
Right. But Forrest will sometimes he'll respond to you on social media before he does on text message, and that kind of annoys me sometimes.
Well, that's what makes me so mad. I post a story, and then somebody thinks because I posted a story, I can talk on the phone.
Yeah, of course.
Like that's the most frustrating thing in the world to me. I'm not pointing anybody out in particular. This is not Robbie Kesey. I'm not talking about you, brother. I love you, Robbie, one of my mentors. But some people, it's like you post, and they immediately call it.
Another one is Quetzal Doyer. I really look up to him. He's a really good friend of mine, and just wealth of knowledge. We've done some herping together before in Indonesia. We've been in Ecuador together. Just a good guy, just a good friend.
It just didn't even seem real for me and Steven at Herpaton getting to meet him.
Oh yeah.
He's so humble. Like he's really humble, like he's not a dick or anything. I mean, the guy's from Brooklyn, self-made, made a zoo down in Costa Rica, and he's just like bred all these species and stuff, and he was just really approachable and really look forward to chatting with him more. So.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic. I'm actually going to see Quetzal this weekend. He's coming out. So
lucky.
Yeah, he's a good guy. But yeah, there's so many different people. I mean, that have just been such an influence, and just continue to fuel that kind of passion, which is good. We need to have positive stuff in the herp community. I mean, we need it.
Yeah. Do you ever keep in touch with Ryan Willinson? Another guy I really look up to a lot.
Oh, with the emeralds, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we I haven't spoken to Ryan in a long time, but yeah, he's a good guy. He's got some incredible animals and just very knowledgeable on that Corrales. Because I remember we were buddies when he was doing veterinary stuff at Dallas.
Yeah, it's incredible the career you guys have had, just working at the best facilities in the world and stuff, just being able to pick your brains and all that and stuff. So
yeah. Oh, Alan Carden too. He's always been Dante Fenolio. Oh yeah, Dante's a good. Bill Lamar. Oh come on, give me a break.
Yeah.
You see, these are just like some of the greats.
Yeah, for sure. What about what made you go towards zoology versus academia?
I wanted to work hands-on.
Yeah.
That was my passion. Like I wanted to be able to create this environment for this animal that I had, fallen in love with, or I was fascinated with as a kid, And now it's funny because I'm going into the academia aspect of it, but I'm not letting go of that physical, what I'm doing now also. So, but yeah, I initially went right into it as like, I want to learn about these animals physically. I don't want to just read about it. That was my thing.
Yeah. Well, I think back in the day, the academics were so hands-on, and they had to do all of it. I mean, like for you, Adventures in Green Street Python Country by SWITALSKI. For me, that's Gila Monsters and their allies.
Exactly, right.
That book for me is a movie. It doesn't have any pictures, but reading about those herpetologists and just the stuff they got to do.
I mean, it was like in the 60s and the 70s when everything was so new, and they were like living in these living out of the back of their truck, describing all these new species of rattlesnakes or heloderma or anything like that. It's just, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, that's what it's about. That's the dream. That's the dream.
No, it is, and anybody can do it. I mean, learning about
that's the thing.
Lawrence Klauber and learning, even though he was a CEO of Southwest Oil and Gas, he was a successful businessman. He went on to be, one of the most, if not the most, famous and successful herpetologists of that time, who named so many rattlesnakes and did so much. But he didn't start out in that world, and that's how it is all the way around. Whether you want to be a zoologist, you want to be a breeder, you want to be anything, you can do it, and the resources are out there. If you want to know everything there is to know about pythons, if you really put the effort in, you can get in touch with you and pick your brain and work with you.
I'm always around. I'm always around to talk. I love it. I mean, it's and that's the thing. A lot of people are like, oh, how do you do it? You just you just have to do it.
Yeah.
You just have to do it. That's it. If you want it, you got to do it.
Yep. Yep.
If you want it bad enough, you'll make it happen.
Exactly right.
Bottom line, no matter what, no excuses, right, Ari?
Yeah, that's right. No excuses. No regrets. No regrets.
No regrets. I would tell you right now, man. The biggest thing about I don't know, man. I would say the biggest mission behind everything else is just knowing the history behind herpetology. Like I'll tell you right now, the biggest thing I appreciate from what I'm hearing right now is the names you're dropping. Which if you guys are out there not understanding who these people are, I'm fucking right there behind you. Okay, because Forrest and Ari are two individuals who know so much history when it comes to this shit.
Oh gosh, I don't even know. Forrest knows more than I do. Hell,
yeah, I would. Okay, easy, Ari. You guys are both, because you guys are like, okay, Forrest says a name, and you're like, oh yeah, blah blah. And you're doing the same thing. I'm over here just like, is Steven awake?
I always wondered the same thing. Yeah,
but honestly, guys, it just makes me realize how important the history is, and I want to it makes me just realize that we need to fucking drop an episode on all the greats. You know what I mean? Let's talk about these people more. That way, there's not too many people out there who are clueless on who these people are. Kind of fucking like Abraham Lincoln and shit, man. Like it's like people that you go to in elementary school, we're forced to learn about certain people. I don't feel like we should force people to learn about these guys, but it's important that we bring them up more. And I think it's awesome. It's getting me excited to want to research more. It's getting me excited to want to team up with you, Forrest, and fucking figure out this next episode, dropping these greats and talking more about them. Because it's very, you know what I mean? Like this is stuff that's been going on for years. It's cool to even have Ari on here, who's been doing this since the fucking early 90s. You know what I mean? Like it would be. Go ahead.
That's why I was like, Ari's been on podcasts talking about the black pythons and everything he's done there. And to me, he's just like this mysterious, incredible wealth of knowledge that
thanks, man.
Yeah, so much about literature and about the history and about all this stuff. So I just kind of wanted to talk about some of that other stuff instead.
I appreciate that, man. That's really kind of you. I really do appreciate that.
And I appreciate your friendship and
Forrest really does, man. He highly respects you, Ari, and
cool.
I thought it all was like I said. I stumbled upon you based off your your post of the Predator thing, and I was like, wow, Predator meant a lot to me as a kid, and then I find out that you're behind the BOELENS projects page, and I didn't know that, and I was like, holy shit. And then Force is like, I brought up, I was like, hey, how do you think about bringing Ari onto the show? And then he was like, oh, you mean this book that Ari gave me? And I was like, whoa, what do you mean? Like, you're homies with Ari like that? And you're like, yeah, fucking Ari is my boy. He hits me up when I'm in a struggle, like all these cool things, you know what I mean? So I'm glad that everything's linking together, everything's coming together. It's pretty awesome, man. And I mean, it's fuck, man. It doesn't even feel like we're 2 hours deep into the show. I mean, appreciate everyone who's hanging in there right now, by the way. But I mean, this is some really rejuvenating shit, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of the coolest things is, like I said earlier, with like these young up and coming herpers and these people that are getting interested in herpetoculture and herpetology from both academia and the zoological world and everything like that, or just even field herping, is to be able to feel comfortable enough to approach people and really just take the opportunity to apply themselves to, whether it's NARBC or the International Herpetological Symposium or International Herp Conference or something like that, where you go out there and you network with these people and you see that they have the passion that you have as well. And it's just a great environment to be in. It just kind of rejuvenates you to want to do more and keep doing what you're doing,
Yep.
Right, Stephen?
Mm-hmm. I do agree, despite the blank look on my face.
No problem.
I think we should start running podcasts in the mornings or something, because I mean, I know Stephen has a lot to say. He just fucking Jesus Christ, at this time of the day, it's
really we're just nothing compared to Eric and Owen now, I guess. Like,
oh yeah, that's not fuck, dude. Shaft.
I know. I got nothing but love for Eric and Owen. Seriously, those guys are awesome.
Yeah, Morlea Radio. They're fucking awesome, by the way. Listened to a couple episodes after I stumbled upon Stevens by accident. Whatever, Steven. He's like, no, I'm gonna just, now that we brought it up, I'm gonna say it. But they're like, yeah, hey, so I heard you're part of a podcast, and he's like, yeah, it's cool, it's fun. Sometimes I just don't want to be on it, and I just don't want to talk.
Oh shit, there it is.
What?
Roll it back, because I'm not.
Let's roll it back real quick. Go ahead.
I don't think you're right on that one.
Go ahead.
I think we were talking about the Joe SWITALSKI episode where I couldn't actually hear at all. So I was just sitting here next to Forrest and like just trying to react as he's reacting, with like all I can hear is him. You're like, oh, just listen on the stream, it'll be fine. It's like, no, there's a 35-second delay. So I'm hearing what you guys are saying well after the fact. I'm just like, why am I here right now? I'm just uncomfortably sitting here for 3 hours. Just like,
Hey, everyone, how's my lighting? Everything good right here? You guys?
Oh, you look great. You look great. You look great.
Anyways, guys, so moving forward, when's the next book coming out? What the fuck?
I'm hoping sometime next year. I'm working on some new. I got like a bunch of new stories and stuff like that I'm putting in there. It's a little bit of new data and everything like that too. So should be cool. I'm also going to be trying to go through with all these. Trying to find like all these elders in all the villages, and I'm trying to get stories from all these elders and then translate it down in so I can put it into the book as well too. So it'll be more like a preserving their kind of folklore and everything like that too. Try to do some different stuff.
All right. I have your book right here, and I was going through some of the notes I had, and I remember I have something in here that I wanted to bring up.
Is it the diarrhea story?
No, not yet. That's actually
okay. Cool.
2 pages after that.
Nice.
No, so you've stumbled across some chondros while searching for BOELENS and whatnot, and I want to know how far up were the chondros, or where were the chondros as far as where you would find the BOELENS and stuff like. Where,
so I've never found anything up in the highlands, so to speak. Everything I found is going to be like Cyclops like for other snakes, like I found a macropekich, the Papuan small-eyed or New Guinea small-eyed snake.
What were night temps over there? Do you recall, or like what were the temps?
Yeah,
like?
it's hot and humid, man. It's like Florida.
Okay.
But the rain it rains frequently. It's like every day you're looking at rain up there.
But it stays warm throughout the night. There's no drop or anything like that. It's just hot the whole time.
It's pretty consistent. That's the weird thing with the weather over there. It's pretty consistent. It's usually a rainstorm that comes in through like a little bit further or a little bit longer of a rain cycle or a little bit heavier rain. It's always raining.
Right.
Whether it's flooding the street or not is the question.
Wow.
What's the most off-putting thing you've ever seen?
Ooh.
Good
Let's
question.
see. Off-putting.
Oh
man, I was at an open market in Jayapura. I had some downtime, and I like going to like the food markets and stuff because you never know what you're going to see out there. And I saw they brought in a bunch of sea turtles that they were butchering up for food, obviously, and that was pretty rough.
I can't see
Yeah.
I mean, between people, I guess. Like
with people?
Anthropology.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I saw a guy that was so deformed that he was walking on his hands and walking on his feet like a crab walking backwards with flip-flops on.
Damn crab people.
Crab people.
Crab people. Yeah, that's crazy.
Like legit. I got a video of it. I'll send it to you tonight.
Yeah, for sure.
It was kind of scary. And he was walking uphill too. I felt really bad. I was like, should I give the guy like a rope and like pull him up or what? But it's bad.
Yeah,
that was pretty bad.
I'm just imagining.
I mean, just like cultural things, like where you're like, oh man, that's like
I've seen nothing really crazy, really that rings a bell.
like their titties are out, or
Oh yeah. I mean, that's no. I mean, titties are out all the time. They're not great titties by any means.
No, they're sagging way down.
Usually to the knees.
Yeah.
Nipples as long as fingers.
They got them orangutan titties, huh?
Yeah. Well, they got like they suckle like.
You gotta put them in the full mouth and lick them.
Well, they've got the like human babies feeding off of them. They got pig babies feeding off of them. So everybody's gravity does. Yeah, everybody's getting a piece.
You got another kid there with his oats.
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of. I've seen that. Nothing really crazy.
Like
I've seen a lot of
anything weird with their like penises or anything. They waving those around. Do anything weird?
I didn't worry about that, bud.
Yeah. I haven't seen any exposed. I've not seen any exposed genitals.
Okay, that's good. So
you comment and tell me what's going on with Forrest right now. Why is he wanting to know about penises?
I'm as worried as you are.
I just heard some messed up things about New Guinea, so I'm just wondering.
Yeah,
I want to go there.
Solid, saying nothing but solid questions this whole time, and then he fucking asks about penises.
Hey, it's like hey.
He DM'd me.
Yeah, right.
He's like, hey, ask him about New Guinea penises. I was like, all right, fine.
Wait,
right,
who's asking about? Who,
yeah, right.
Is it Thunder Magnum?
Oh, Thunder Magnum always wants to know about,
Shout out to Thunder Magnum.
Yeah. Shout out to keeping it clean, Thunder Magnum.
I like Thunder keeps it spicy up in the comments. I like Thunder.
I haven't seen any Papuan penises on any of my trips yet.
Cool.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well,
damn.
There's still hope, Steven.
Yeah, double damn.
Yeah.
Hey, what's the prospect like for girls?
Actually, no, I take that back though. I do have a friend over there. His name is Willie, and everybody on the island calls him Big Dick Willie.
Okay.
He's supposed to have like a giant penis, but I asked him to show it to me, but he won't show it to me.
Okay.
Tell him to put it on the table.
At least you asked him,
I asked him. He rubs. He uses this stuff. I forgot what it's called. I got it written down. There's like a whole chapter I'm writing about Big Dick Willie in the next book, and it's like he rubs this stuff on it, and it's supposed to make it bigger or something like that. And I'm just like, I just told him,
let's get on selling that.
Yeah, right. I said, Willie, get the fuck out of here. Get away from me.
No, we got to get this Big Dick Willie cream, and we'll. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Can we get him on the podcast next week?
Yeah. I'll get a sample.
This is out of control.
Video.
Yeah. Right.
He can advertise.
Yeah, the Big Dick Willie chapter is really pretty entertaining.
Yeah, no, it is. But I figured they'd be like dragging, like, you know, like have things like pierce through them, and they're dragging, like, you know.
You'd be surprised. They're pretty tame.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, all right, real quick.
Yo,
we don't have to say any names or anything, but how many of your homies back in the country are about that illegal business? Like, are they fucking around with some, like, you know, smuggling type shit on the low?
not that I know. I've seen a ton of it though. I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, not just in Indo. You know, it's
right.
But I mean, the thing is, a lot of it is just because that's like how those people make money. You know, it's sad because it's like such a double-edged sword. You know, like these people literally are like poverty stricken. You know, they could sell an animal and they could feed their family for a week. You know, so it's like,
what would be your guess on how many babies are actually being sold out of those nests? Just in those nests, a lot, right?
Yeah, probably a lot.
Are those majority going to Europe? Where do you think those are going? Are those
they go all over the world.
Okay.
Yeah. Wherever no, Europe, you can't import them in now. They banned it last year.
Europe.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they're
now. Where do you think the future is going with BOELENS? Like, honestly, do you feel like they're going to be the price where they're at fucking 5 years from now?
I think the future actually is looking really well because they're getting a lot more attention. Now, whether or not it's positive attention as far as what we can do to sustain them in captivity or how much we can sell them for it, we don't know. That's the thing. You know, I mean, I've seen prices go ridiculous, like, you know, $2,500 an animal to $9,000 an animal. It's but I definitely see it being more positive because we're getting a lot more attention. We're getting a lot of people that are curious about them, wanting to know what they can do, how to do it right, how to get involved, or not just a monetary thing with it, you know?
Right.
Well, I'm still waiting for some babies, man. So make sure in the next couple of weeks we get
a couple clutches in.
Yeah, get me something.
That's right.
I get so upset with just seeing stuff I want from Indo on Instagram and then just not.
Well, you know, it's funny because like what you guys were saying earlier, like with the social media, social media is such a great outlet for so many things, to connecting people all over the world and, like, you know, advertising and everything. But it also is really terrible for a lot of the animal industry too, because you see all these people collecting all these animals and offering them for sale. A lot of these people are scammers, you know, regardless, but you see all this. So it's like, you know, it takes the allure and the mystery out of it. And it also puts it in real negative light because, you know, a huge portion of these people that, like ourselves, aren't into it for this illegal aspect of it. You know, we want to do it the right way, you know, and sadly, a lot of people associate it all as that. So it makes it very difficult for what we all are passionate about.
For sure. I'm passionate about getting some goddamn BOELENS in my damn collection. I mean, honestly, I'm trying to get to my. I respect that. I respect that BOELENS are that they're at the price that they are at.
Yeah. And
it almost, you know, it would almost be sad if they instantly drop to something way more affordable, because I feel like they're that much more of a special snake because how expensive they are. I mean, they can drop down a little bit more.
BOELENS always going up in a wave. We're at the peak, and it will drop back down again.
Fuck right now.
Yeah, it's peaked the hell out. Yeah. That's how it happens. It'll be a couple of years where it's just like skyrocketing high, and then all of a sudden it just drops. And there's like, oh, okay, whatever, you know, and everybody gets tired and they sell all their animals because they haven't produced them, and that's typically how it goes.
I saw a pair of juveniles. I mean, for 2 shows in a row now from John
John has the 2 juvies going. Well, they're probably a little older, but they're going for 16 grand.
Wow.
And it said firm. It said 16 grand, like 16K firm. Like,
wow.
Fuck yourself with your offers. 16.
That's insane.
Because he's like, if I'm not getting that money, I'd rather just keep them. And I feel like I'd be the same way because they're, who the hell has those? Like as far as,
That's how it is with a lot of stuff. I mean, a couple years back, a New Guinea crocodile was on Fauna for $800. And right now, if there was a New Guinea crocodile on there, I don't know what, you just say whatever you want. I got to have it.
Yeah.
I got to have it. Like I'll sell everything. I have to have that crocodile. Like,
yeah. You hear that, Steven? He'll sell everything.
Yeah. There's a lot of animals like that. And it's like Moluccans, for example, we're getting ready to pick up 2 pairs of adult Moluccans.
Nice. And
say somehow, some way we pull a Chad Gray and we hatch out a baby Moluccan.
Yeah.
What's that animal worth? Somebody's gonna tell me it's worth $1,500.
Nah.
No, sorry. It's not. Like it's worth everything to me. So
yeah, exactly. And Moluccans, that's definitely an incredible project to be involved in. Because they are very few and far to find, and reproduce for that matter, for whatever reason.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I just find it so fascinating that all these scrub complex animals are so difficult to reproduce. It's just, I mean, you've had people historically that are, that should have and could and would have been able to reproduce these animals, but haven't been able to. I mean, and that's just so mind blowing to me. Like, why? In the day and age that we're at now with all the advancements, all the electronic things that we can control and this and that. I mean, you got cameras on everything. You got mirrors on the top of Steven's shoes. I mean, you've got all sorts of things going on. I mean, it's like we can't figure out how to breed Moluccans or BOELENS pythons or Halmaheras or, I mean, all that stuff, or even Sabus are still difficult to reproduce. Or Timors too, Timor's Apodora, all that stuff, man.
Yeah.
It's just like, but that also is like such a draw for me too, because it's like, oh gosh, I want to work with these animals to figure out why.
Timor game belongs to the trap. I'm saying that right now.
That's right. That's the story of our lives, though. It's like, man,
right?
It's hard to breed. It's expensive. Just piss your money down the drain. I'm there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you guys know a good friend of mine, Lawrence Ketchingston, in Ireland.
Yeah, what a cool dude.
Dude, he is a smart kid, and he is doing some incredible stuff. I could see him breeding BOELENS. I could see him doing Moluccans too. I don't know why, but he's tuned in on that for whatever reason,
Yeah. All right.
Very true.
Yeah.
Steven, how you feel?
Energized in a way.
Okay.
Make sure you get the mouse stuff on point tonight, man.
Don't worry.
What? Make sure you get the what?
Mice, like the mouse room.
Hey, Steven, what time of the day was that podcast you did with Morlia Radio at? Because I never hear a Tekeo gecko going off in the background ever.
It was like a little earlier than this, for sure.
What's that? Does that fool come out at a certain time or what? Because that was pretty gnarly. Like it was like making a crazy ass like
different room.
I've heard that before. I'm not, I don't mess with geckos, so I don't ever.
Yeah, typically later in the day they'll start making those noises.
But he's in the office right now.
Yeah,
and that's in the reptile room, so that's why.
And he's out just to eat crickets.
Oh yeah, yeah. We've seen eggs around and stuff. I mean, they had powder blue genetics, so hopefully we'll see a powder blue running around one of these days. We'll see.
Oh yeah, there's
some powder blue.
Yeah.
Get back to work, Steven.
Yeah, true that.
So Ari just discussed that he's going to be dropping a book, in the near future.
Yep.
Which is going to be you're going to be detailing more stories that you have in store, right?
Yes, sir.
And then there's more stories to come because you're
Yeah.
flying. You're going to be doing a next trip out there soon. What is on your agenda when you fly out there next time? What's
So I've got to do. I'm doing a lot of nesting ecology stuff, and I'm going to be trying to get to a spot that's right on the middle, in the middle of Papua, really. And that's kind of like my goal to get there. It's kind of going to be I've got some reports of animals in there, so I want to confirm and see if there's anything genetically different or, morphologically different at all.
Yep. Right. It's not a game, guys. Like, you got to go out there. You got to donate money. Where do we donate money to? How do we make this happen? Let's get Ari there. We've donated money as a company, Cold Blooded Cafe.
Yeah.
Ari. So what can everybody else do to make this actually happen?
Yeah, I mean, just hit me up on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Anything helps. $20, $50, $100. It's all it's all being used to get back out and more field equipment. I give a lot of money to the locals too for helping out because they have virtually nothing out there, so it helps too. And I was talking to MJ earlier about I got this big symposium thing I'm working on too, which will be a great opportunity for people to come out and network and stuff like that. It's going to be IHS. If you don't know what IHS is, you need to come to an IHS. It's great. International Herpetological Symposium. It's going to be in Atlanta this year. So, I mean, they got whale sharks at the aquarium. So come on, Yeah.
Charles
Big project. So it'll be June 17th for the BOELENS Symposium. You can come out. Just go on their website. I've got such a cool lineup. I've got Keith McPeat doing a captive care thing. I've got Lawrence is coming out from Ireland. He's going to do a big naturalistic enclosure setup presentation and reproduction with SIMALIA genus.
Wow.
Quetzal's going to be there. Nicholas Hassard from France is going to be doing a talk about raising neonates. I've got a friend of mine, Mariela Rodriguez. She's going to be doing stuff on quarantining and new viruses coming out for snakes. And then Warren Booth's going to be doing a python phylogenetic talk and issues with small genetic populations and reproduction. And then we're going to do an open panel discussion where the general public can come and talk and ask questions. And it's just going to be a great freaking time, man. I mean, and a great place, not just for BOELENS freaks, but for reptile people, for herpers to come out and just meet other herpers, academia, zoo people, hobbyists. It's just going to be a lot of fun. It's just fucking come out.
And is where that happens. If you want to meet the entire spectrum of the world. One more shout out. I just wanted to thank all of our listeners and everybody that got involved. Ari, I know you were involved in Carpet Fest, Southeast Carpet Fest.
Yeah.
At my boy Cody Bartolini's. Just such a huge shout out to Ian Bessel. As far as I know, he smashed last year's goal of $25,000. I think they're somewhere north of there. So they were able to do that for nidovirus research. So holy shit, Ian, you did it. It was incredible. Cody and Mia held the best event I've ever seen in my life. So let's make an event like Ari's talking about. Let's have for these events. Let's get together more.
I was super bummed I didn't get a chance to make it. It looked awesome.
Yeah, I'm not gonna miss it next year. I feel like I need to be a part of something.
But and also I don't know if we're wrapping up or what, but I wanted to just thank you guys again for having me come on. Forrest for being such a good friend, supporting me with my work, just being another freaking nerd to talk to. Steven, it's been great, and MJ, I appreciate it, and I've got just a really great support group. A good friend Todd Goodman from Timberline really helps so much. My friend Josh Hansen has been just incredible with helping out with a lot of stuff too, and he's actually doing all this incredible stuff for people for this Boelen Symposium. He's going to be covering we're getting all sorts of cool stationary stuff, like sending people home with a really cool Boelens gift bag with all sorts of badass stuff in it for this thing. So please come out and check it out. It's just a great opportunity for people to hang out and talk reptiles.
And remember what Ari stated earlier, guys, in this podcast was one of the biggest things that stands out to him was fucking flying out to shows at 18 years old as a young buck by himself, solo dolo, and putting his fucking ears to other people's conversations like Tom Crutchfield's and all these legends.
Yeah.
To get an insight. You don't have to come and be sneaky about it no more. There's there's opportunities where if you come out and you meet people, you could just go say what up to them and chop up game. Like Ari says, if you ever have questions about Boelens or anything, he'll step aside and chop up game. And it's these people who've been doing this for a while are actually intrigued to talk to people who are interested and want to grow with it. That's the thing with this now. So
and there's never been sorry to interrupt, but there's never been a more important time for us to become one together with what our passion is, especially with how the world is changing right now. Not just with laws, but with views on things. We just need to stick together as a herp community and work on the ultimate goal, which is what we love doing in working with these animals. Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's about coming together, like Ari's saying. And if we keep, putting everything together in one basket and we keep moving, we'll start getting somewhere. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
let's do it.
Yep. All right.
Hold on. I think Steven has a question. Hold on.
Oh, sweet. Here he goes.
Steven, you do want to keep Boelens, right, Steven?
Do I? Yeah.
Okay, there you go. So let's. Don't you have a question about keeping Boelens, maybe?
We were discussing that a long time ago. I mean, I think a question I did pop into my mind.
Damn it, dude.
Kind of just goes along with what we were just talking about a little bit. As somebody who has connections to the different aspects of this world, be it private keeping, herpetoculture, zoology, and academia. What do you think the ideal relationship between all three is for long-term sustainability for what we're doing, and for those entities to work together in ways that benefit all three?
That's an awesome question. We all it has to coincide. Sadly, you've got academia, zoo institutions, and then you've got privates over here. And if we can find a way where we can work it all together, it's just going to be unstoppable. I mean, really, there's so many egos in the industry. It's just let's throw them out the fucking window and just do what we all love. That's the thing. That's the thing.
I mean, especially, we keep animals that aren't going to get us rich in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? At the end of the day, we keep fucking some designer shit that if people don't know about it, and let's say you do have this stuff to sell, they're not going to they're going to be scared at the prices you drop at them, because these are straight animals that you have to be in love with to keep.
Exactly.
Like, nothing against ball pythons, right? But they're not fucking ball pythons, dude. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're not a snake that.
And I love ball pythons. I think they're incredible.
I love them too. Forrest, not so much.
I love them.
Forrest does. Steven's the one that's been on this weird tip lately, but for reals, no. What I'm trying to say is we work with shit that's so unique and so fucking fragile and so like I said, if you don't know about it, you're not going to want to mess with it. You know what I mean? Especially if you see how much is invested in it and whatnot, right? So, but at the end of the day, you know what I mean? We're talking to somebody like Ari, who's not only keeping animals like what we're talking about here, but he's fucking flying to the country where they live at and where they reside at, and fucking with the villagers, the people who who are native to that geographic spot. You know what I mean? It's just they have a saying that has been around lately. It's called doing the most. Ari, you are doing the most, my man.
Thanks, man.
Doing the most that you could possibly do to fucking get more information. Like you said, when you started reading up on the Boelens, paragraph was this big.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now there's a goddamn book on it.
2 books.
2 books. 2 books. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna leave you. There they are.
Right.
That book. There it is. Yeah.
And if you don't have that one, what the fuck?
Yeah. Right.
If you got notes, and you ain't really reading it, motherfucker. So
Yeah.
hey,
All right. So I'm gonna leave you guys out. I'm gonna lead this podcast out with the diarrhea story. All right.
good. Perfect.
All right.
Perfect.
So this is I've told this story a couple times. It's pretty great.
Diarrhea.
All right. So I remember one time I was in an area called Karubaga, and it's in the Tolikara mountain ranges in Mombrano Basin. It's fucking way out there. And we were hiking all day, and I got super dehydrated in this range I was at, and I watched these stupid survival TV shows. And I was like, oh, man, I got no more water. You know, what do I do? And I'm like, oh, I'm looking around. I see all this moss on the trees. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm going to take the moss. I'm going to wring out the water. I'm going to drink it like they do on the TV, right? That's the worst possible idea to do. Never do that because birds shit in it. The KUSH shit in it.
Jesus.
Probably the PAPUA shit in it.
Who knows?
So I'm like, oh, drinking it. And I'm like, I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm walking. We finally get back. It's dark out. And finally get back to this hut, and it's a men's hut because all the men and the women sleep differently. Women sleep in a separate hut, and the men sleep in one hut. And they're up all night because nobody can get comfortable in these things. So they're talking, and I fall asleep. And I'm I think I was with Danny, and I wake up in the middle of the night, and they're all passed out. I'm stepping over these. He looks at me. He's like, "What are you doing, man?" I was like, "Oh God, I gotta take a shit." I was like, "This is bad." I'm like pinching a penny. I'm like, if I fart, this is bad. And I brought and I used to always bring a roll of toilet paper with me. I don't do it anymore. And so I grab this roll of toilet paper and I walk out and I'm stepping over these guys that are just like passed out in this hut and everything like that. So I'm not waking them up. And I'm tiptoeing over them and I walk outside and it's absolutely incredible. It's pitch black and I can see the stars and I'm just like, wow, this is amazing and it's cold and all this. And then I realized I was going to, explode rectally. So I had to find some place. So I'm walking and I'm like thinking to myself, all right, where's a good place to go? And I bend down and it just was like a fire hydrant exploding. And I just started, and I'm wiping my ass. And I went through the whole roll of toilet paper and I'm just like, all right, cool. We're good. I walk back and Danny looks at me. He goes, you okay? And I was like, yeah, man, it was bad. I go back inside. I lay down. I wake up, a little later than everybody else because they get up super early and everything. And Danny's outside and he's smoking a cigarette. And he looks at me and he goes, bro, really? And I said, what? And he goes, really? And I said, what? So I walk out and I look out there and everybody's giving me these dirty ass looks. And I'm just like, what's the deal? Well, they're in the middle of the village. There's this gigantic pile of shit, like about this high.
Oh my God.
Mounded with toilet paper. And and I looked at him and I said, do you think they knew it was me?
Oh my God. Well, yeah, the newspaper's a dead giveaway.
Right. Yeah. So that's my diarrhea in the village story. So, but I didn't get killed. So it was good.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
And then next podcast, I'll tell you how I almost got my dick bit off by a cassowary.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, and we can talk more about Willie too. We'll get him.
Hell yeah, Big Dick Willie.
Yeah, don't forget
Love
about
him.
Willie. So
Yeah.
all right,
Thank you guys so much.
Hell yeah.
Thank you.
Let's have you
All
on
right.
again, Ari. I'm
Will do.
super hungry from driving all day, so gotta get
Oh yeah.
food.
All right,
Guys, get some rest and we'll talk soon.
good episode, bro. We appreciate you having on.
Thank you.
I'm gonna put Ari's information description below.
Cool.
If you ever want to hit him up regarding IHS, please do, or hit up myself or Forrest. We'll get you in for information on that. Steven more than likely won't fucking respond to you because there's something wrong with him right now. He's broken.
Mhm.
No, but honestly, Ari, you have a fucking wonderful night. Thank you for giving us your
You too, guys.
Keep killing it, and make sure you put me on the top of the list for CBB, baby. Okay, you know.
Of course, you guys.
All right.
Right behind Forrest, right?
Oh, of course. All right.
All right.
Story of my life, fucking Mr.
That's right.
Number 2. All right,
Awesome.
have a good night, bro.
All right, see you guys.
All right, go. Have a good night.
Night.
All right, guys, that was a really good episode. Shout out to everyone who stuck in, everybody who was in there the whole time. We had a really good time, man. So that was awesome. So everyone stay tuned for next week episode. and check it out. And then if you guys haven't yet, make sure you guys check out what I have going on the Snake Trap Sessions channel. Trap Talk with MJ and homies. All right. Just something that we just chop about, stuff that's going on in the trap day to day. Nothing, nothing crazy, but we just fuck around. You know what I mean? So, but good times. I think Forrest is still here. What's up, Forrest? You still here?
I'm just chilling. I'm trying to get out of here, but just didn't want to be the guy to, puss out and leave you hanging. So
that was a good episode though, right?
Fuck yeah, dude. It was epic. That was really good, man. That's what it's all about. What do you think?
Oh man, I couldn't be happier. I mean, I think what Joe and Brian were my most anticipated episodes, but then Ari kind of took the cake, man.
Yeah.
Because no offense, we love Joe and Brian, but Ari is he's like an unsung hero in the game, and he's somebody that a lot of people are gonna know once we keep continuing on throughout the years, because where the bowling game's going, because who he is to you, the kind of friend he is to you, and then the homie is to me. He's fucking dude. The guy's iconic, man. He's epic.
And that's I just love all the guests we've had on this show. I mean, guys like Patrick and Ari and stuff. This is it's going in a good direction. I hope people like what they're hearing. Definitely reach out to us. Let us know what you think, and we'll post your comments on Instagram and on our different social media, and let everybody else know what you think too. But I'm gonna get some food, see what's up with Desiree and Lars, and MJ. I'll talk to you a little later.
Yeah, we'll chop it up. Have a good night, bro. Tell Lars and Desiree I said what up, and enjoy your meal, man.
I will, man. Peace.
But yeah, guys, we're gonna call it a night. I'm signing off. It's your boy MJ. Like I said, this was a fucking epic episode. Make sure you hear us out on Buzzsprout, on Apple Podcast, Spotify, all that good stuff. We're on all the other platforms other than YouTube, so make sure you check us out. All the information description below. Follow me on Instagram, MJ Exotics Cartel, and then follow Snake Trap Sessions Instagram as well. And then, like I said, tomorrow I'm doing a session, Trap Talking Homies with Chris Cercery, one of the first peoples I ever encountered with into collecting snakes, ball pythons, and whatnot. So I'm gonna be hooking up with him tomorrow on the Snake Trap Sessions channel. So have a good night, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. You guys are awesome. Shout out to everyone who was fucking up in the comments. You guys rock. We'll see you guys next week. And we are gonna bring on. Don't worry about it. Until next time. See ya.